Lastly, I would like to verify your presence. Please turn on your cameras when I call your name. Trustee Powell, are you there?
Hi, I'm here.
Trustee Kelly, are you there?
Hi, Chair. Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Call to order. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the regular board meeting of the Halton Catholic District School Board on June 16, 2026. Before we begin tonight's meeting, I would like to acknowledge the profound loss that our Halton Catholic District School Board community has experienced a week back with the passing of our colleague and dear friend, Superintendent Nancy Dinolfi. On behalf of the Board of Trustees, I extend our deepest condolences to her family, friends, colleagues, and those whose lives were touched by her dedication to Catholic education at HCDSB and everywhere else. Throughout her years of service, Nancy faithfully supported students, families, staff, and our broader Catholic community, having a lasting impact on our board. As many of us prepare to gather tomorrow to celebrate her life and commend her to God's loving care, we remember with gratitude the gifts, leadership, and kindness that Nancy shared with all of us. I now invite everyone to join me in a moment of silence and prayer for the repose of Nancy's soul, for comfort and strength for the family, and for all who are grieving their loss. Eternal rest grant unto Nancy, O Lord, and let perpetual light shine upon her. May her soul and all the souls of the faithful departed, through the mercy of God, rest in peace. Amen. In recognition of Superintendent Dinolfi's many years of significant contribution to Catholic education and to the Halton Catholic District School Board, I will ask that a letter of condolence from the board be conveyed to the family and that our condolences be recorded in the minutes of this meeting. Thank you. We will now proceed with the business of tonight's meeting. Please note that this meeting is being live streamed and will also be posted on the board's YouTube channel. Trustees, in order to be recognized, please use the hand up feature in Teams to be automatically placed in queue. We have guests in the room tonight. Welcome to our Boundary Review Committee members as well as staff. Thank you for coming to our board meeting. And this is a reminder for all our guests. We have microphones up here, which are very, very sensitive. So if you talk in the back, that you will be recorded. So please refrain from speaking in the boardroom unless you're called to speak. Item 1.1, land acknowledgement, opening prayer, the Our Father national anthem, and our staff to please start us off with the land acknowledgement.
Halton, as we know it today,
is rich in the history and modern traditions
of many First Nations in the Métis,
from the lands of the Anishinaabe
to the Attawandaron,
the Haudenosaunee,
and the Métis.
These lands surrounding the Great Lake
are steeped in Indigenous history.
As we gather today
on these treaty lands,
our Catholic social teachings
call us in solidarity
with our Indigenous brothers and sisters
to honor and respect
the four directions:
lands,
waters, plants,
animals,
and ancestors
that walked before us.
All these wonderful elements of creation exist,
gifted to us by our Creator God.
We acknowledge and thank
the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation
for being stewards of this traditional territory.
Thank you. Student trustee Adelie, could you please lead us in the opening prayer in your Father and national anthem?
In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, as we go for our final meeting of the school year, we thank you for the many blessings you have given us. Thank you for the lessons we've learned, the friendships we've built, and the challenges that's helped us grow. We are grateful for our teachers, staff, families, and classmates who have supported us through the year. We also give a special thanks for the life and presence of Nancy, whose kindness, dedication, and connection to our community touched the lives of many. May her example continue to inspire us, and may your love and peace be with her and all who miss her. As you look ahead to summer and to the new opportunities, help us carry forward the knowledge, kindness, and values we have gained. Bless everyone in our school community and keep us safe in the months ahead. Guide us in all that we do and say, so we may continue to learn, serve others, and grow in faith. We ask this in Christ our Lord. Amen. Now please join us in our Father. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Thank you, student trustee Adelie. Item 1.2, motions arising from in camera. There was one motion arising from the in-camera session, which will require a vote in public session. I will now read the motion. Resolved that the Halton Catholic District School Board accepts the recommendation of the audit committee to approve the internal audit plan for 2026-27. May I ask for a mover, please? I'll move it.
Vice Chair Canada. Looking for a second.
Howell.
Howell seconds it. We won't have a discussion, but we'll take a recording vote. Vice Chair Chanada.
In favor.
Trustee Kelly.
Conflict.
Trustee Saunders. In favor. Trustee Murphy.
In favor.
Trustee Perstrom.
In favor.
Trustee Adelie.
In favor.
Trustee Hannah is absent. Trustee Carabella.
In favor.
Trustee Powell.
In favor.
Trustee Kennedy.
In favor.
Trustee Agnew is absent. There's 6 in favor. None opposed. No abstention. Motion carries. Our next order of business is item number 2, approval of the agenda. Do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda? And do any trustees want to remove an item from the consent agenda? Trustees, please raise your hand. Trustee Saunders.
6.1.4, I have a conflict. If you could remove that from the consent agenda.
Thank you. You have submitted your form. Thank you. Trustee, any other trustees? Trustee Kelly submitted something.
Yes, I have a conflict of interest.
So that's 6.1.4, right? Thank you. Any other changes to the agenda? Corrections to the agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Looking for remover, Trustee Saunders. For a second, please. Trustee Carabella. I'll take this to a recorded vote. Trustee Kelly, how do you vote?
In favor.
Trustee Saunders?
Favor.
Trustee Murphy?
Favor.
Trustee Parasuram?
In favor.
Trustee Adelie?
In favor.
Trustee Carabella?
In favor.
Trustee Powell?
In favor.
Trustee Kennedy?
Yes.
Vice Chair Vanchanada?
In favor.
We have 7 in favor, none opposed, no abstention. Motion carries. The agenda is approved. Item number 3, declarations of conflict of interest. Are there any conflicts of interest besides Trustee Saunders and Trustee Kelly tonight? Seeing none. Our next order of business is presentations. Item number 4, 4.1, HCDSB Mental Health Action Plan Update. Director Klein, please introduce the presentation. CEO Klein, sorry.
Go by many names. Thank you, Chair. I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Jack Caldera to welcome our staff members here this evening, who will again give us an engaging presentation. Thank you.
Time to review. Chair, good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Board Mental Health Team, I'm pleased to present an update on the Halton Catholic District School Board's Mental Health Action Plan. This update marks a pivotal moment in our ongoing 3-year mental health and well-being strategy as we reflect on the incredible strides made this year and look forward to the intentional work ahead. Our work this year does not sit in isolation. It is deeply rooted in who we are as a Catholic learning community. Pride our hearts by our multi-year strategic plan and its foundational pillars: achieving, believing, belonging, and design. This year's liturgical theme from the prophet Micah calls us to love justice. In the context of student mental health, loving justice means ensuring that every single student is seen, valued, and given exactly what they need to thrive. It requires us to actively break down barriers to well-being, acknowledging that mental health is a matter of equity. To truly foster belonging, our schools must be spaces where students do not have to hide who they are to feel safe. This past year, our mental health team has intentionally focused on creating welcoming, inclusive, and identity-affirming school environment. By listening deeply to student voices, we have intentionally championed initiatives that celebrate the diverse identities of our youth. From the Black Excellence Symposium and the Take Space, Make Space event to First Nations teachings with TP Joe and the Best Buddies dance, our action plan explicitly intersects mental health with equity. We know that a student's mental well-being is inseparable from how safely and authentically they show up as their true selves. Tonight, we will share how our system has been amplified and how we amplify student leadership through our school well-being champions, strengthened crucial parent and caregiver engagements, and deepened our collaboration with community partners. We will also look ahead to how our upcoming annual action plan will continue to embed identity-affirming, evidence-informed mental health support across all tiers of the HCDSB system. Welcome, Jenna, Kim, Freya, Oliver, and Chanel. The mental health team, the Avengers, today to provide some more details. Welcome.
Thank you, Superintendent Jack Caldera. Thank you to the chair for the opportunity to speak tonight and share some of our work. We can move on to the next slide. The work of this team is very much anchored in our 3-year mental health and well-being strategy. This is aligned with the identity affirming and school mental health strategy that is offered by School Mental Health Ontario. And it very much guides the work that we do here at HCDSB. As a Catholic community, the 4 pillars that ground our work are, as referenced by Superintendent Jack Caldera, how we amplify student leadership and participation, increase parent and caregiver engagement, enhance mental health supports across all tiers, and strengthen system collaboration. Through this presentation today, you'll see how this strategy has been put into action. So moving on to the next slide. We'll share some highlights from this year, but what we can celebrate this year is that there has been a focus on student leadership through board-wide events that have had representatives from every HCDSB school. There were fostered connections with caregivers and community organizations to help ensure that students have access to meaningful supports. Additionally, building capacity throughout the HCDSB system ensures that students at all tiers of need are met with supportive responses and pathways to service. I will turn it over to Kim, who will share some of these highlights.
So just elaborating on what Chanel shared, here's a snapshot of a few events in our board celebrating student voice and leadership, system and community collaboration, and parent engagement. Although only some of these events were led by our mental health and well-being team, we wanted to recognize other system events organized by our amazing colleagues on the Human Rights and Equity team, the Indigenous team, our curriculum department, and special education services that supported student voice and leadership. So on the screen, you'll notice a few photos, and I'll kind of just briefly speak to them. So our mental health champions, that is one of our big initiatives in our mental health team. We've got 3 times this year, and that's when we have 2 representatives from each of our schools, elementary and secondary, come together for a day of learning, collaboration with each other, and a chance to really highlight and share the exciting initiatives happening in their schools. We also have on there the Healthy Active Schools Conference. So that was for our grade 7 and 8 students put on by our curriculum department. It was a day of activities focused on healthy living and informed decision making, closely aligned with the expectations on the Ontario Health and Physical Education curriculum. We also had, we can go to the next. So we had our Black Excellence Symposium back in February. This was for our secondary students, and it was a day of leadership opportunities and stations, enhancing leadership amongst our students. Our Take Space, Make Space event. So that was our Student Equity Symposium for grade 7 students. Through interactive workshops, thoughtful discussions, and hands-on activities, the day encouraged students to take space by expressing their identities with confidence and to make space by listening, learning, and uplifting those around them. We had First Nations teachings with TP Joe. He was able to visit many of our schools and share about Indigenous culture and teachings. And our Best Buddies dance, always a happy day for all of us, for our secondary life skills students and their buddies. We have our Junior Jays Day. So that was 4 days for our whole system for our elementary students. We had over 600 elementary students participate in junior with 106 junior leaders that accompanied them. And then we also had 2 full days for our Challenger Baseball, and that's for our secondary life skills students. We had about 93 students participate and 180 leadership class students that participated with them on those days. Another great event. For our Roots of Empathy, as you can see our sweet little baby up there, we had 25 programs across our system in our elementary schools. Always a happy day when the babies come to visit our classes. Our Lead Out Loud event, which is on there, that was a day of learning and community building and reflection for some of our GSA leaders. A photo we didn't have up there because we just had the day last week or 2 weeks ago, was our GSA social, a lovely day of community building and identity celebration. So that's not up there, but another great day. The last photo up there is our WIN phone. So how this worked was one of our itinerant CYCs, Elaine, she sits on the board for Lighthouse, which is grief support for students and families across Halton. And they were talking about building this WIN phone. And that, for those of you that don't know, a WIN phone is a way for anyone, students, adults, to have that private conversation with a loved one that may have passed. So with Elaine being the amazing advocate she is, she thought, let's involve our students in making this beautiful tribute to the Lighthouse, something in our community from students in our community. So she connected with Bishop Redding's wood shop, group, like their club, and they built this beautiful stand that the phone could be housed in, and it's situated just outside the Lighthouse building. So at any time, anyone can go up, pick up the phone, and have that private conversation with a lost loved one. So we were really thankful to our students that were able to join us that day as we unveiled it. A really special day. And then the next slide. So for our parent night, one of our huge goals this year was around community partnerships and collaboration with different agencies that we work with in supporting the same families. So we did a lot of great collaboration with Halton District School Board this year around parent engagement. We agreed that as it was a priority for both of our boards, we're all supporting the same families, having some great topics that we had in collaboration with Halton Region. So we had a parent night in February that was virtual, and it was a webinar that was put on by the dietitian at Halton Region, and it was about healthy eating and shaping how kids feel about food. And then we had our last one in April in person at Halton Region, and that was put on by the Halton Region Public Nurses and the Halton Region Police Services. And it was all about helping parents on what they need to know around online safety. Another great collaboration. So we're really excited to continue that next year. So those are just a few highlights. Obviously, we couldn't get everything up there, but those are just a few of the key things.
Thank you, Kim. And we do also want to acknowledge the importance of building our staff capacity so that all staff supporting students and families feel better equipped and supported. So the first one is the mental health literacy or mental health lit. This was a professional development delivered by our mental health team to guidance and special education teachers. The focus was on strengthening staff understanding of student mental health, including strategies for promotion and prevention, early identification of concerns, and responding in a trauma-informed way. There was also an emphasis on helping staff to confidently connect students with appropriate school and community supports. Next one is on Safe Talk and Assist training. So this was a range of sessions that were offered to build capacity in suicide prevention, intervention, as well as life promotion. The third one is CRP learning series or culturally responsive and relevant pedagogy. This was a 5-part professional learning series led by the Human Rights and Equity Department. And the series focused on deepening understanding of systematic inequities and building culturally responsive practices with particular attention to addressing patterns of disproportionality in student suspensions. And the last one is leading mentally healthy schools. Oh, sorry, just the previous slide. This was a training for administrators, co-facilitated by the mental health team, as well as in partnership with our curriculum teams. This session introduced and reinforced the Leading Mentally Healthy Schools framework, supporting school leaders in reflecting on and strengthening school-wide approaches to promoting mental health and well-being. Slide, please. We will be doing a quick introduction of our action plan, and then we'll be digging a little bit deeper. So our mental health team is deeply committed to aligning this work with our board, NYSP. Our 2025 to 2028 strategy reflects a shared understanding that students' mental health and well-being are foundational to learning, growth, and overall success. We also have our annual action plan that really identifies a lot of our specific priorities, key actions, and indicators that really strengthen our work as we move forward. We really want to take the time to thank many of you in this room for all your ongoing inputs, guidance, as well as support. Your perspectives has been so critical in shaping this work, as well as your continued encouragement helps to ensure that we can move forward with these priorities in a meaningful and impactful ways across the system. And at this time, I would like to invite Jenna will walk us through the key components and priorities within our action plan.
Thank you, Rhea. So building on the foundation of our 3-year strategy, the action plan identifies the key priorities and actions that will help move this work forward over the upcoming school year. Our first strategy pillar focuses on amplifying student leadership and participation. We know that students often turn to one another first, making them powerful partners in promoting mental health and well-being. To support this vision, we have identified several areas of focus, including expanding the Mental Health Champions Initiative, creating opportunities for students to co-plan and co-facilitate learning, and empowering students to share and promote mental health resources with their peers. Next slide. Our second strategy pillar focuses on increasing parent and caregiver engagement. We recognize that parents and caregivers are essential partners in supporting student mental health and well-being. These proposed actions focus on providing learning opportunities, both in person and online, helping families become more aware of mental health resources and pathways to support, and creating opportunities for families to share their perspectives and experiences. Our third strategy pillar focuses on enhancing mental health supports across all tiers. This work reflects our commitment to creating welcome and inclusive environments by strengthening staff knowledge on mental health, while ensuring students have access to appropriate supports and interventions when needed. The proposed actions span prevention, early intervention, and more intensive supports. Our efforts will include strengthening mental health literacy among all of our staff, expanding access to evidence-informed practices and social-emotional learning programs, and continuing to use data to guide and improve service delivery. Our final strategy pillar focuses on strengthening system collaboration. We know that supporting student mental health is a shared responsibility and that meaningful progress happens through strong partnerships across our schools, our departments, and community organizations. The proposed actions highlighted on this slide focus on deepening collaboration, expanding shared learning opportunities, and continuing to build leadership capacity through the Leading Mentally Healthy Schools framework. We welcome your feedback as we continue refining this plan before it's finalized and posted to our HCDSB mental health website by June 30th. Oliver will now speak to the implementation of this work and the partnerships that make it possible.
Thank you. I'm going to speak to how this action plan is supported and guided. The delivery of school-based mental health services is guided by PPM 169, which provides school boards with a framework for implementation. To achieve this, we collaborated closely with both internal and external stakeholders to integrate well-being into system-wide activities for students. The research department here at the Halton Catholic Board is really plays a pivotal role in analyzing, understanding the impact of our initiatives. This ongoing partnership enhances our ability to plan future projects effectively and be accountable. The support from School Mental Health Ontario is also invaluable as we work to fulfill the requirements outlined in PPM 169. Our efforts have underscored the necessity of strengthening system capacity at all levels. We are pleased to announce that in the upcoming school year, the school mental health team will include an ICERT focused on mental health, allowing us to engage more deeply with educators. Together, we are committed to promoting mental health and well-being for every HCDSB student. We extend our gratitude to our research department, particularly Jennifer McDonald, as we navigate the complex reporting requirements for School Mental Health Ontario and the ministry. This collaboration enables us to evaluate our efforts and to enhance our capacity to support schools effectively. Next slide. We're happy to answer any questions and thank you for your attention and support.
Thank you for your presentation. So I shall now we're going to come again at the end. So now I shall open up the floor to trustees for questions, comments. Vice Chair Panchanada, you have the floor.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair, to the entire team. What a wonderful presentation. There's a couple of things that are left with me, especially the piece on student leadership, focusing a lot more because we all know, and I was a teenager not so long ago, no laughing, that, you know, I would confide in my friends sometimes more than anybody else. And to be able to have the children to have those skills to deal with certain things their friends may be telling them, that could be hard for a parent to struggle with. So congratulations on that. I do have a question though. Moving into 26, 27, the plan looks fantastic. Do you see the volume or the voice of our children? Has it been getting stronger? I've been sitting in this chair for 8 years and we've talked about this, but it seems to be having more volume and more attention. Have you seen that with the children? Are they using their voices more than ever?
Pass it to Superintendent Jack Caldera.
For you, Chair. As you can tell by the encouraging nods, yes, we are seeing that there is an increase in student need and student participation. This generation is very articulate in expressing their emotions. Not too long ago, I was a teenager, and it was to speak with your friend, or it wasn't really table talk or dinner talk. So we do see a shift in our students' maturity and acknowledgement of how important mental health and well-being is. So I think that this team is responsive to those growing needs and they're very dedicated in the charge.
So thank you for all you do and continue doing what you do, and you make us proud in Halton Catholic. So thank you for what you do.
You are next, Trustee Saunders, you have the floor.
Yes, so it's me, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure if this is to Superintendent Jack Caldera. In this plan, I didn't see, do we have like a crisis management protocol of if a student is identifying this in crisis and we have a team or something? I'm just wondering, it didn't really come out in the presentation, but do we have that as part of this?
Superintendent Jack Caldera.
Chair. Yes, this was our highlight reel. So we did include every single initiative or every single detail that would be more explicitly articulated in our plan, but we do have those supports. We do have a number of community partners as well that offer response to crisis that we work with, as well as our chaplains and our other faith leaders within the board to support students who may express an need. But it is part of our plan. It's foundational to the work that we're doing. And so,
okay, thank you, Trustee Saunders. Up next is Trustee Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you, a comment to the group. Fantastic work. If I think back, well, actually, I haven't been a teenager for quite a while, but if I think back society or even my first time with the board, we didn't really have an in-depth program, right? As society, we didn't have those in-depth programs. And with children in the board, you're always bringing as a parent, they go into school, they're into the environment. It's nice to see there's resources. So where are we in that continuum of going from a society that really was just grin and bear it and work through it on your own in the dark to a more healthy, maybe we compared ourselves to some of the Scandinavian countries. Where are we in that continuum? And do you have the resources from the Minister of Education or government to meet our demands? I know we talked a lot about capacity, which I think is vital. To meet those growing needs. So where would you give us, not necessarily our board, but if you can, that's great, or us as society, where are we in that continuum to other countries, let's say?
I'll pass this to Superintendent Jack Caldera.
For you, Chair. So I wouldn't have the details as it relates to other countries, but certainly our board has continued to invest in the mental health department through our CYCs, our social workers, our psychologists, and spoiler alert, when we talk a little bit about the budget, you'll see that we continue to prioritize those resources in the schools, even though it may result in an overspend based on the money that we do receive from the ministry. We use that and some when we are committed to our initiatives. So on a happiness quota and internationally, I don't have the information for you as prepared to answer that one, but I certainly appreciate and value the dedication of the senior team and those decision makers around the budget for prioritizing. The input that we received was that to continue to ensure that those supports are there. And I'm very fortunate to be able to lead a team and be part of a board team that prioritizes those initiatives. And even though the dollar doesn't go as far as it used to, we continue to invest.
Thank you.
That's very comforting to know that it's, again, one area where we're underfunded from the powers that be, but we as a board choose to invest in that. And I know I'm quite happy to do that, support any programs in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Murphy. Any other trustees have questions, comments? Saying none, I want to thank Superintendent Jack Caldera and the team. I know how many members do we have? EPF team behind the scenes.
So we have this team in front of you. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 individuals plus, I guess, myself and 6. Yes, there's 7 of us, and then we acknowledge through research and all the feedback and just in our experiences on the field how important it is to have that connection between students who are diverse learners who have special education needs and their mental health. So that's where the introduction of the iCert is going to round us out to, I believe, 8.
Thank you. Yeah. So I was going to say thank your team who's here, and they're supporting 37,000 students, and this is a lot happening behind the scenes. So I really appreciate the work done. I know we continue to do more with less. So keep up the good work, and thank you so much for all that you do. You can stay for the meeting.
Thank you. Sit here and I'll go.
Okay, we move on to next item is delegations. We have no delegations today. Our next order of business is item number 6, consent agenda items. The following items have been agreed upon the agenda if you will to stay on the consent agenda. Item 6.1 action item, 6.1.1, 6.1.2, 6.1.3. And then we have information item and 6.1.4. Item 6.2 is information items. So for the section items, we will take one vote. There will be no discussion on the action items. And other noted items, we will not have a discussion too. I will now read the motion. Resolved that the Halton Catholic District School Board approve consent agenda items 6.1.1, 6.1.2, 6.1.3, and 6.1.4 as submitted at the June 16th regular board meeting. May I have a mover? Looking for a mover, please. Trustee Murphy moves. Looking for a seconder.
Second.
Trustee Vice Chair Bhuvan Chinara seconds it.
Sorry, I have a point of clarification.
Sure.
Didn't we take 6.1.4 out of the consent agenda?
We did not take it. It was a conflict of interest. I'll take that.
Thank you.
Sorry, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, so myself, we have a conflict of interest, but we can't vote on.
If you declare a conflict, you cannot vote on this.
On the consent agenda?
Because you declare, we're going to take one vote on the entire consent agenda.
Yes.
We did not request to move that item out. We declared a conflict on that item.
Oh, I did request to move it.
No, we did not.
We did.
Yep.
We did.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. Nice and corrected. Nice and correct. So we shall vote on item 6.1.1, 6.1.2, and 6.1.3. And we shall vote on 6.1.4 separately. Okay. My apologies. So I'll read the motion again. Resolved that the Halton Catholic District School Board approve consent agenda items 6.1.1, 6.1.2, 6.1. and 6.1.3 as submitted at the June 16th, 2026 regular board meeting. It's moved by Trustee Murphy, seconded by Vice Chair Bhuvan Chinara. Pertains to a recorded vote. Trustee Murphy, how do you vote?
In favor.
Trustee Saunders, how do you vote?
In favor.
Trustee Murphy is in favor. Trustee Perasman?
In favor.
Trustee Adelier?
In favor.
Trustee Carabella?
Favor.
Trustee Powell?
In favor.
Trustee Kennedy?
Favor.
Trustee Bhuvan Chinara?
In favor?
Trustee Kelly? Trustee Kelly? Favor? Trustee Kelly?
In favor.
We have 7 in favor, none opposed, no abstention. Motion carries. Consent agenda carries. Okay, we shall now move on to our next order of business action item, number 9.1, 2025-26 year-end audit planning report from external auditors. Superintendent Lofts, please speak to this item, then I will bring the motion. Please in table.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you. Attached is Deloitte's year-end audit plan for 25-26. Stephen Stewart, our audit partner from Deloitte, presented this to the audit committee at the June 3rd meeting, where it was unanimously, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Superintendent Lofts. Trustees, do we have questions? Please raise your hand. Oh, sorry, I got rid of the motion. Be it resolved that the Halton Catholic District School Board approve the external auditors 2026 audit service plan report. May I have a mover for this item? Vice Chair Kohan Chanada moves, looking for a second, please.
I can second. It's Powell.
Trustee Powell seconds. Trustees, any questions, comments? Please raise your hand. Saying none. Online. No questions. Saying none, I shall call the vote on the motion in front of us, item 9.1, 2025-26 year-end audit planning report for external auditors, was moved by Vice Chair Kohan Chanada, seconded by Trustee Powell. Trustee Murphy, how do you vote?
In favor.
Trustee Personal?
In favor.
Trustee Adeli? Trustee Carabello?
In favor.
Trustee Powell?
In favor.
Trustee Kennedy?
In favor.
Trustee Vice Chair Kohan Chanada?
In favor?
Trustee Kelly?
In favor.
Trustee Saunders?
Favor.
If 7 in favor, none opposed, no abstention, motion carries. We shall now move on to item 9.2. North Milton Catholic Elementary School Boundary Review Committee of Recommendations. This item was shared with trustees the last board meeting as a staff report. It is now an action item. Superintendent Murray, please speak to this item, and then I will read the motion and place it on the table.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. So there are no changes from the from as presented at the previous board meeting. The boundary changes are as outlined in the report. It is our intent to make these changes to accommodate future growth in Central Milton and utilize the future addition at Our Lady of Victory School. So you have the motion on the screen there in front of you for consideration tonight. And staff are here, Bronco's here as well to answer any questions you might have on the item. And again, I want to thank the SBRC members for their time and commitment throughout the process. We met several times throughout, mostly through the winter. Numerous times at St. Anthony School. So really want to thank the committee members, one of them here tonight, but thank them for their time and commitment and going through the numerous meetings. Lots of homework in between meetings as well and following up on our reading through the document. So really want to thank them for their support and commitment to seeing through a good resolution for the town of Milton. That's back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Superintendent Merrick. I shall now read the motion and place it on the table. Resolved that the Halton Catholic District School Board direct staff to adjust the regular track boundaries for the 2028-29 school year such that areas 3, 4, and 5 be reassigned from Holy Rosary Milton Catholic Elementary School to Our Lady of Victory Catholic Elementary School. Resolved that grades 7 and 8 regular track students in the 2028-2029 school year who reside within areas 3, 4, and 5 are granted legacy exceptions until graduation. Resolved that the Halton Catholic District School Board direct staff to adjust the French immersion boundaries for the 2028-29 school year, such that areas 3, 4, and 5 be reassigned from St. Peter's Catholic Elementary School, Guardian Angels Catholic Elementary School. Resolved that grade 7 and 8 French immersion students in the 2028-29 school year who reside within areas 3, 4, and 5 be granted legacy exceptions until graduation. May I have a mover for this item? By Trustee Murphy. And I can second it. Thank you. I will now open up question time. Trustees, do you have any questions regarding the process? Please raise your hand. Seeing none.
Oh, I have a question.
Trustee Saunders, you have a question? You have the floor.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Superintendent Merrick, quite often in these, we get a lot of pushback to the French version parents. I'm just wondering, how was this received during this work?
Superintendent Merrick.
Thank you, through Mr. Chair. I think a lot of focus is on the regular track and not so much on the French immersion. We were changing multiple boundaries, but we did definitely have discussions amongst the group about both regular track and French immersion boundaries. But there was a kind of a mix of parents from the programs on the committee. And, frankly, we saw a lot of options. We probably saw, close to 20 different options by the end of it that we had mapped out. But they were pretty clear in whittling it down to a few select ones that they were interested in, and then selecting a recommended option to bring here tonight from that group. So I would say there wasn't, the feedback from the French immersion community wasn't as strong as I've seen in other boundary reviews.
Thank you, Trustee Saunders. Any follow-up question? No, that's good. Trustees, any comments on the motion in front of us before I take the vote? Trustee Murphy.
Thank you, through Mr. Chair. Maybe just to add some context also, I think in Milton, people are used to French immersion, are used to having to relocate, and I don't think there was a significant impact to French immersion. I've been on, I don't know how many boundary reviews, 7, 9, something like that. And I will comment that the amount of work that this group did was exceptional. They were looking at it on a very granular level, looking at, doing their homework, going out to neighborhoods, seeing where the dividing line is, what house is in, what house is out. So I was quite impressed by the work that was put in. More so, it was very collaborative. So schools were coming to the meeting with the understanding that they were potentially impacting and ready to make concessions. So I thought it was really well organized. We had the systems that the board has are quite impressive. We know based on postal codes how many students, where they are, and you can really have very fulsome discussions. So kudos to Superintendent Merrick and his staff, and to the parents on the committee. It was quite impressive, and the last one I'll ever be on. So that was great.
Thank you, Trustee Murphy. Any of the trustees have a comment? If not, I just want to once again echo what Trustee Murphy has said, and Superintendent Merrick has. This was I've said on more boundary review committees than Trustee Murphy, and so this was a pleasure to be on one. The parents were engaged, the staff was engaged, the principals were there. And so I really felt that this was we had a wholesome conversation and discussion, lots of data and numbers moving back and forth. And I'm really happy that the process was collaborative. So once again, thank you to each and every member who's not here present today. And thanks to staff for presenting all the information, which was not easy, but you did a fantastic job. So thank you so much. With that, I shall call the vote on the item in front of us, the motion in front of us. It was moved by Trustee Murphy, seconded by myself. Trustee Carabella, how do you vote?
In favor.
Trustee Powell?
In favor.
Trustee Kennedy?
In favor.
Vice Chair Vanchanara?
In favor.
Trustee Kelly?
In favor.
Trustee Saunders?
Here.
Trustee Murphy?
In favor.
Trustee Perstrom?
Favor.
Trustee Adelier?
In favor.
Trustee Hannah?
On here.
So, and I'm in favor. So we have 8 in favor, none opposed, no abstention, motion carries. Thank you to the members. We shall now move on to item 9.5, which was 6.14 in the consent agenda, policy III-17, attendance support program. Trustee Agnew is not here. Vice Chair, would you like to read? Can we have the motion up?
Be resolved that the Halton Catholic District School Board accept the recommendation of the policy committee that policy III-17 attendance support program be approved.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So this motion has come to us from policy and we only need a mover. This has been moved and so I was present at the meeting. We discussed this. Trustee Saunders request to remove as well as Trustee Kelly request because of the conflict. Not sure if there's any discussion on this item, but if not, shall call the vote on this item. So we're going to take a vote on item number 9.5, action item. I see no hands up. I shall call the vote. Trustee Powell, how do you vote?
In favor.
Trustee Kennedy?
Favor.
Vice Chair Ohan Chanan?
In favor?
Trustee Kelly?
Conflict.
Sorry. Trustee Saunders, conflict. Trustee Murphy?
In favor.
Trustee Purslem?
In favor.
Trustee Adelier?
Favor.
Mr. Carabella?
In favor.
We have 5 in favor. None opposed, no abstention. Motion carries, the policy carries. Our next order of business is item number 10, staff reports. 10.1, 2026-27 budget estimates. Director CEO Klein, please present the report.
Thank you, Chair. At least I'll begin. Tonight's budget recommendation is being presented in what we're all aware is a constrained financial context. As trustees have learned from other presentations and other discussions, several pressures are affecting this board and other boards in Ontario through the 2026-2027 fiscal year, including enrollment changes, as in declining, cost pressures that are increasing, uncertainty in certain expenditure areas, and growing student and system needs. Staff this evening are therefore bringing forward a budget recommendation intended to manage the financial risk responsibly while remaining aligned as far as possible with our board priorities as articulated in our MYSP, stakeholder input, and student needs. Turn it over now to CFO Superintendent Lawrence.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, staff is presenting the 26-27 Halton Catholic District School Board budget estimates under the leadership of our CEO, John Klein, and the input from our senior team. Our dedicated financial services team have worked to produce the draft budget in an extremely tight time frame, completing it by June 12th, just 4 weeks after the ministry announced the funding on May 13th. Their commitment ensures we deliver a fiscally responsible plan that prioritizes student success and aligns with our board's strategic priorities. Before I start, everyone, I would just like to acknowledge a very good friend who's no longer with us in the physical world. Nancy D'Onofrio was a large part of the budget we present tonight. And I am grateful for the help and the guidance Nancy provided me directly. She had a very unique ability to make people feel seen, heard, and loved. What has been really special to hear and see is the impact Nancy has had on so many in our system, and not just our system, but our region. One quick story I would just like to share about Nancy would be that she would always send personalized messages at Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, etc. Not just to me, but to many, I'm sure. But my favorite one was the one she would send me on Father's Day. I would be sad on Father's Day. Today, we have members of our finance team, Adam Cross, our Senior Manager of Financial Services, Cheryl Dalrymple, our Manager of Budget and Capital, is here as well. Adam and Cheryl, along with our three analysts, Kylie Cano, Dan O'Sullivan, and Manchi Chung, as well as our Supervisor of Accounting, Rebecca Albers, have put many additional hours in to ensure our budget is complete by the end of June, as required by the Ministry of Education. Thank you, everyone. Trustees, as we present the draft 26-27 budget estimates this evening, I want to acknowledge the valuable role the budget consultation survey played in guiding our work. The feedback we received from over 1,600 parents, staff, students, and community members provided clear insight into the areas our community values most. Even in a year we are presenting compliant in-year deficit, driven primarily by WSIB costs and the continuation of programs previously supported for responsive education programs other, also known as the REBs. The survey helps us to prioritize and maintain key student-facing initiatives. Areas such as special education supports, mental health and well-being, core classroom resources, and IT services were protected and sustained in the draft budget rather than reduced. This approach reflects our commitment to listening to our community while meeting our fiscal and compliance responsibilities. I believe the draft budget before you strikes a responsible balance and continues to support programs and services that directly benefit our students. As trustees have seen in earlier budget discussions, this budget has been developed in a year marked by significant financial pressures. Staff have had to plan within a context that includes projected enrollment change, uncertainty in certain expenditure areas, rising absenteeism costs, WSIB risk, infrastructure pressures, special education pressures, and just broader inflationary costs, as we've all seen. These drivers were identified to the board in the trustee budget materials, and they form the context of the recommendation we're being presented this evening. In addition, tonight's discussion takes place within the broader governance and accountability environment established by the Putting Students Achievement First Act, with recently received royal assent, and the ministry's subsequent memos to boards, which stated that the act is intended to strengthen governance and accountability, and that further policy regulations will support implementation ahead of the 26-27 school. Accordingly, the focus this evening is threefold. First, explain the budget or the board's fiscal position. Second, to outline the key budget drivers contributing to that position. And third, to present the staff recommended budget approach for trustee consideration. Thank you, everyone, for your commitment to our shared vision of achieving, believing, belonging, becoming. Now, Adam, Cheryl's here as well, have a presentation and we'll go over the proposed budget.
Thank you, Aaron. Thank you to the trustees for allowing us to present for 2016 or 2026-27 budget. We'll start off by just doing a high level executive summary. So as Aaron kind of mentioned, and as we're seeing in the board report, we are proposing a $2.5 million 8-year compliant deficit. We have $42.4 million in accumulated surplus, so we can cover this deficit with our savings from previous years. And this represents a 0.53% operating allocation, the $2.55 million. So what's driving the deficit this year? The main driver for this deficit is the increasing WSIB costs that our board is facing, and other boards throughout the province are also facing. These costs continue to rise exponentially every year. So last year, we budgeted $2.5 million based on the actual information that we were provided while we were preparing this budget. We now have to budget $4.5 million for the upcoming year. So absorbing a $2 million increase for WSIB projected costs is a very daunting task. And as we saw last year when we were presenting our financial results, our actual costs came in significantly lower than what we had budgeted in the previous year, creating a surplus. So this year we took the approach that we'd rather not take money out of the school system to cover this rising WSIB cost and propose it as the main driver of the compliant deficit for this year. This way, if the costs come in lower, we haven't taken money out of our school system. Another key driver is the responsive education programs. Typically with the ministry funding announcement, they also announce these one time, or we might see them over a couple of years in a row of funding for special purpose programming. We haven't heard any such announcements for the 26-27 budget yet. There are some programs that we've elected to continue to fund and support, even without those announcements for the revenue to offset those expenses. We presented in the past the capital changes that also impact compliance. So every year we have to absorb a component of this for the amortization of capital purchases that we made using our accumulated surplus in previous years. So this typically represents tracks and turfs. We have to save this money again to replenish those track and turfs when they come to end of life. And then we presented this in the past, but we still are the lowest per student funded board in the province, which creates a disadvantage for our board when it comes to our budget. This slide kind of highlights the 6 key structural and policy-driven pressures that are leading to the compliant deficit that we're proposing in the 26-27 budget. So we talked about the WSIB and the fact that they're projecting 4.5 million in costs for the upcoming year for WSIB. We talked about the lack of announcement for responsive education programming. So some of the items that we continue to fund, even without the funding source, is our cybersecurity and our human rights and equity. Those are 2 of the critical ones that we feel we must continue, even in the absence of funding announcements. In terms of our capital compliance, so we have 714,000 in amortization that we have to absorb, primarily related to turfs and tracks, as well as our Thomas Burton site. We spoke to the lowest per student funding in Ontario. We presented to SEAC last night special education and mental health shortfalls. So for the 26-27 school year, we are projecting just under 7.4 million in a deficit when it comes to special education and mental health. 2.1 million coming from the special education side of the programming, and 5.3 million coming from the mental health side. So our rising needs in the board continue to outpace the funding, even though we are in the 5-year cycle of seeing the bump from the 2021 census data. Our costs and our demands in this area continue to outpace the funding in that area. And then non-staffing inflation. So we saw a minimal increase to the funding for inflation to the tune of 2%, but it was isolated to about 40% of the funding that we get in our school operations side, but no other areas of our funding, including classroom materials and supports in class. So these 2 are the main drivers of the challenges that we're facing for 26-27 school year. I won't go into any further details on this slide, but it's just very challenging, the WSIP environment. So just to provide some context, so when the WSIP and employee future benefits were brought into the compliance calculation back in 2016, our costs that we would incur every year at that point was just over 250,000. And now in 2026, we are facing 4.5 million. So very significant increase. that we are trying to navigate absorbing into our budget. So in terms of the 26-27 education funding, so our core education funding is projected to be 479.5 million. So that's a 1% increase or 5 million from the 25-26 estimates. It's important to note that within that $5 million increase, half of which were previous responsive education programs that have now transitioned into core education funding. So while we always want to see those responsive education programs roll into core ed funding because that gives us a more predictable funding base, it's not new money for the 26-27 school year, as we previously had that funding in the form of reps and previously had expenses relating to that funding in our budget for 25-26. Within the core education, we did see a new investment in classroom supplies for elementary students of 421,000. So this is the 750 per class that the province has been speaking about. Our impact was 421,000 in new money for this initiative. They also provided just under 1.1 million for consistent curriculum resources. So that's new money. The one caveat with this is that we are to be using Supply Ontario for these purchases, and we haven't been presented with who the vendor of record will be for Supply Ontario when it comes to these resources and what would be available for boards at this point. So there's still a little bit of uncertainty around what we'll be able to use this funding for until that vendor record is made known to boards. We saw just under 500,000 increase in student transportation. And then I spoke to the 2% increase. So that equates to 360,000 in non-staff benchmark increases. And then we have the third year of our continued census data and related updates. So that's just under $1 million in new money for the board. And then the redirecting of reps to core ed was 2.6 million. There also is opportunity for boards to exclude some administrative costs in the administrative compliance component. We aren't near the upper threshold of that compliance, so it's not necessary for the board, but there are some select items that you can now put in to reduce your admin costs for compliance purposes. So in terms of budget challenges, as Aaron alluded to, the funding announcement was relatively late for the 26-27 budget year. We haven't heard anything about the responsive education programs. Our elementary enrollment, which we'll talk to in a couple slides, we're projecting a decrease. And we saw minimal funding, so just the 1% increase over last year when it comes to the core education funding. And most of that, or half of that, was previously responsive education programs. We still continue to see higher costs in employee absenteeism, and there are continued risks when it comes to cybersecurity and IT. Special education needs, mental health, and extra pressures continue to be areas that challenge the board when it comes to funding and providing resources to accommodate the needs. We have compliance with collective agreements that we have to be aware of. Statutory benchmarks are not fully funded by the province. And then we have the rising cost of WSIB, and any legal claims that are not subject to statute of limitation are always a risk for the board. And then with inflation, so we saw that 2% that represented 360,000, but often our costs are outpacing that 2% inflationary increase. So in terms of the budget survey, when we conducted the survey back in March, the funding had been announced by the province. But within the budget survey, we did ask a question about if there was limited funding, what programs or services would people deem to be essential and should be maintained. On this slide were the themes that were presented at the April 21st meeting with respect to this question. So the top one being special education and one-to-one supports, the second being mental health and well-being, the third being core subject supports and interventions, and then fourth was extracurricular activities, and theme 5 was on for subjects. Now, while we were constrained with the limited funding that we had available to use for the 26-27 budget, we did make our best efforts in terms of addressing some of these items. So in terms of theme 1, the special education and one-to-one supports, so we repurposed funding that we were previously paying to external parties to help with specialized equipment for our students, to add 3 specialized equipment itinerants to better serve our students that utilize the specialized computer and other equipment within our board. Having the resources in-house allows us to better address the needs and continued needs for students with their devices. We were also able to add an additional special education teacher for our new care and treatment education program. In terms of theme 2, the mental health and well-being supports. So as Cassandra alluded to in the presentation earlier today, to sort of add to the team, we were able to add 1 mental health special education teacher position, as well as we were able to add social work, psychologist, and behavioral analyst, again, as part of the care and treatment education. So these are all new positions that we were able to work into the budget to help kind of address some of the concerns that were brought forward in the budget survey. In terms of core subject supports and interventions, we were able to continue to provide our early reading screening supports and interventions, focusing on primary and for 26-27 junior grades. So the funding for these initiatives was moved from responsive education into core ed for 26-27. So we've been able to maintain these programs for the upcoming year. And we continue to be able to support the math achievement action plan as the reps for math were also transitioned into the core education. So this again allows us for more predictable funding for these critical math positions and math tools. So the one interesting thing to note, when the province introduced the core education funding format a few years ago, they removed, with the exception of special education and mental health supports, most of the restrictions, so the enveloping of the funds. When they moved these responsive education programs into core education, they actually envelope them. So they're still operating essentially like a responsive education program, just within core education programming, where we have to spend the funds for those particular items that the province has outlined. And any unspent funds, unlike in the reps where we have to return the money, we can roll it over to a future year, but there's still the restriction. So it's kind of acting like a rep in the core education funding. So enrollment, we are projecting enrollment to go down for this year, largely due to kindergarten. So our projections are for total enrollment to be 36,414.58 students, with 21,170.5 in our elementary panel and 15.244 in our secondary panel. So from an overall perspective, we're projecting a decrease of 117.73 students, with an increase of 345 our secondary panel, and then our decrease is all being seen in our elementary panel. So in terms of our revenue, we're projecting 550 million for the 26-27 school year. 483 million is coming from our core education funding, so that's an increase of 2.4 million. The major drivers of that increase, again, are The 2.6 million moving from reps to core ed. As you'll see in the corresponding line for responsible education programs, that number is 0, where it was 3.3 million last year. We have just under $1 million for the census increase, the 460,000 for the transportation, and the 1.1 million and the 420,000 for the consistent curriculum resources and classroom supplies. These were partially offset by our per pupil funding, as our enrollment is down by 117.69 ADE. And similarly, we saw a decrease in our ESL funding due to lower enrollment that's qualifying for the recent immigration calculation that drives the ESL funding. In terms of the responsive education program, so aside from the amounts that were moved into core education, there's still the 1.3 million in funding that we received last year that we are within funding for in the current year. Some of the other revenue items to highlight is the federal funding is down just under $1 million. So last year was the last year of our 5-year agreement with the province, and when we renewed that agreement with the province for this year, they had scaled back the program that they wanted us to provide, and as such, they funded us less for that scaled back program. We are projecting an increase in community use of school facilities. So these are turfs and our gymnasiums and other school facilities that we are renting. International students. So we're projecting again a decrease, continuing decrease in our international students due to changes in immigration. And so we're seeing about 106 student increase from the previous year when it comes to international students. And then in terms of our other items, so our educational development charges, we're projecting an increase in educational development, or a decrease, in educational development charges based on the current trending that we're seeing in 25-26. Our DCC is increased based on more assets that we are advertising, bringing in the matching revenue to offset those expenses. And then the third-party revenues there of a decrease of 214. So this represents dual credit. So dual credit was one of the items that we used to get funding outside of the core education funding for, but now it's rolled into the core education funding. This slide, we spoke to the previous meeting, and kind of outlines the different components of the core education funding. So just a couple of ones to highlight that I sort of mentioned. So you can see in our per pupil allocation for the classroom staffing fund, there's a decrease of 705,000. So because of that 117 ADE reduction, we're seeing per pupil allocation going down. And then our language classroom staffing allocation. So that's driven by the immigration numbers. And that's our ESL funding that we're seeing decrease significantly there at the 2.2 million. In terms of the targeted learning allocation, so that component's under the learning resource funds, it's 913,000. So those are some of the reps that were moved into core education. And those ones are the ones that are enveloped and restricted for the specific purposes. And then in terms of the differentiated supports, also under learning funds, the 500,000 increase there represents the dual credit funding, as well as some census increases. And then in terms of the per pupil allocation, so the 1.5 million, that's driven off of the consistent curriculum, as well as the classroom resources of the 1.1 million and the 400,000 in the classroom resources component. Special education, the main driver of that increase is the differentiated needs, which is driven by the census data. And then the school facilities, again, that's the 2% component that is in there. And then school board admin, so the increase there relates to declining enrollment. So within the funding calculation, when a board switches into declining enrollment, there is some additional funding that triggers to help sort of soften that transition to the reduced enrollment. On the capital side, so we're projecting the start of some of the major construction projects for some of the schools that have been recently approved. And then the other piece to kind of point out is temporary accommodation. So we even though the funding pool increased last year, that was one of the big announcements. In last year's budget, we saw our allocation for 26-27 decreased by 200,000. So in terms of expenses, our classroom teachers are projected to be at 283.3 million, or just under $2 million increase. So this is a positive, and I want to highlight that. So typically with declining enrollment, we would be expecting to see declining classroom teachers. But included in the budget is actually an increase overall in classroom teachers of 15.5 FTE. So while we are getting less funding, we are committing to additional resources in our system. Also, what's driving this increase is the WSIB costs. So incorporated in there is a component related to WSIB. In terms of vocational teachers, so a slight decrease there. So this will be the first full year under our more enhanced attendance support program. So we're projecting a slight decrease in our vocational teacher costs. Educational assistants, you will recall at revised estimates, we added additional resources based on, so they're temporary resources based on some needs at revised estimate time. We've gone back to the original 25-26 budget staffing allotment for our educational assistants to start the 26-27 school year. ECEs, we're seeing a decrease, which is in line with the decrease in projected kindergarten enrollment. In terms of our textbooks and supplies, so this is where we see the biggest impact from that $1.3 million in reps that has not been announced. So there's about 500,000 in materials and supplies that were previously funded through reps. So primarily summer learning and experiential learning reps that are not in the budget at this point. We also are projecting lower C equipment. So these are the claims-based expenses. We did reduce the school budget slightly. This is partly because of the $750 allotment. So when the province rolled out that funding, a portion of the funding was to be coming from existing funding that boards had received. And then there's the new add, which is the 421,000. So we're not necessarily taking it out of the classrooms because the teachers are getting access to it, but we reduce those budgets to accommodate that component that we were funding previously to the schools. And then we saw a slight decrease in our digital math tools and a slight decrease in our spec ed materials. In terms of the professional, paraprofessional, so the large increases or the larger items that are driving the increase here are increased wireless infrastructure for IT. And then this also includes the staffing for the CTEP program. So this is where the psychologist, behavioral analyst, and social worker all under our professional, paraprofessional, and technical resource staff. For school administration, so that increase is largely due to grid movement for principals and vice principals, as well as adding additional VP resource and WSIP and ELHT costs on the benefit side. We did see a slight decrease to offset some of these increases on the principal, vice principal, and professional development carry forward. So every year they're allotted funding for professional development, which we can carry forward into future years. We're projecting to use less of that carry forward for 26-27. In terms of our coordinators and consultants, so this is slightly decreased due to dual credit funding allocation, as well as lower ESL assessments based on the lower projected needs, and then also some of the math resources. And then in our continuing education, so the decrease there is driven by the decrease in the federal programming and the funding that corresponded with that change. In terms of board admin, again, a large portion of the decrease here is related to the federal program and the administrative costs that we were able to allocate to that program. We also, this is where the Putting Student Achievement First Act comes into play, as we reduced trustee expenses, including the Augusta membership, as directed by the province. We saw a slight decrease in our legal consulting as well as international student insurance because of the fewer students. And those decreases were slightly offset by an increase in non-union grid movement. Transportation, so we see an increase in transportation, largely driven by an increase in home to school transportation in both the elementary and secondary panels, as well as an increase for dual credit transportation costs and fuel escalation. School operations is relatively flat. In terms of the other pupil accommodation, the main difference here is, so you may recall in previous years, when we're presenting our quarterly reports, there's often an item in other pupil accommodation that's an expense, and you don't see the comparative budget element, and this relates to the short-term interest on our EDC land. So previously, we weren't including it because it's an equal and offset between EDC revenue and the interest costs, but to better reflect for quarterly reporting transparency, we decided to include that component in here. So included in the other people accommodation is a $2 million increase in short-term interest costs on that EDC land. And this is slightly offset by a decrease in our long-term debt interest on our major capital projects from previous years. And then other expenses is down because, again, dual credit. So it's just a reallocation of where those costs are now being reported. So now they're in the instructional section as opposed to in previous years, they were down in the other section. And then again, amortization has increased due to an increase in capital assets. So in terms of our financial position, so we are projecting that $2.5 million compliant deficit. $714,000 relates to the committed capital projects, and then the rest we're proposing to cover through our operating surplus to make up the $2.5 million deficit. In terms of what makes up that $714,000, so here are all the past board-approved capital projects. The ones that go against our compliance are on this slide. So these projects, as you can see, most of the items on here relate to our turf and tracks. So the other thing to remember with turfs and tracks is we do charge rental fees for these. So even though the province is having us don't save for it, we are also generating revenue that we are saving to replace these turfs and tracks as well. So that's part of our strategic plan when it comes to those projects. And then in terms of compliance, so as we kind of talked about in the past, you can spend up to 1% of your operating allotment in a deficit, as long as you have the necessary accumulated surplus, which we do. So when they do the calculation, they remove the EDC revenue and school generating fund revenue from our revenue section, and then they similarly remove the school generating fund expenses from the expenses. So we have the $2.5 million deficit in terms of what that means. So we do have to fill out an in-year deficit elimination plan. So there's three kind of elements that we put forward on this plan for the future. Two of which really depend on what the final outcome is when it comes to the responsive education programs. So if the responsive education programs are reviewed and announced, then about 500,000 of this will be eliminated right away, which is what we hope to hear in the future, is that funding will continue for 26-27, and those components will be part of that. And then the larger component, so the $2 million component is WSIP. So we started some discussions with the ministry on looking at WSIP and how it relates to compliance, especially in light of when the decision that was originally made, our board anyway, was at 250,000 in costs, and now we're up to 4.5 billion in costs. So those are in the early stages. But the decision we made for the 26-27 budget was we didn't want to take resources out of our system for this number when it may or may not come to fruition. So you'll recall, like a couple of years ago, we had a significant increase in our WSAP, which caused us to be in a non-compliant deficit. Then in the subsequent years, we saw it swing the other way, and then we ended up being in a surplus. So we'd rather not kind of impact the system by trying to absorb another 2 million in WSIP costs. So we'd rather try and work with the ministry, and hopefully we can come to some sort of agreement where the actual costs that we pay out in any given year, that can be considered part of the compliance calculation. But what we're really hoping, and what a large portion of the projected costs are if someone goes on WSIP in the current year, and based on the severity of that WSIP claim or incident, they're projecting out the cost of that employee off for many years. And for accounting purposes, we have to record the full liability in the year that essentially was incurred. But from like a cash flow perspective, we only pay out the cash when that year comes about. So we're just trying to see if the ministry would be amenable to remove at least that component, so the component of projected future years, because we would cover the in-year costs for those projected future years with that year's budget, rather than having to budget for those projected future years in the current year. So it's a complicated situation to navigate, but again, we felt it was prudent, especially in light of only the 1% increase in funding, to pay for the projected increase in costs to WSAP through our accumulated surplus. That's it for the presentation.
Thank you for your presentation. I shall now open up the floor to trustees for questions. Trustees, please raise your hand and direct your questions to me, and I will address pass them on to make those answers. Okay, your speakers list here. Vice Chair Open, your hand is up.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair and CEO Klein. My question is this. So we're saying that we're getting more money by 1%. However, we're not getting the RAP funding. So is it really an increase in funding?
CEO Klein.
I'll defer. Thank you, Chair. I'll defer to Superintendent Lofts on this matter.
Sure. Thank you. Through our thank you, CEO Klein. So a majority of our overall, it's about a $5 million increase. 2.6 of it is approximately REPs that we had that got moved into the core education funding formula. So of that new 1% or so, about half of it is funding that we had last year. We had expenses for last year, just got moved into the core education funding.
Yeah.
Follow? Good.
Yeah, through Mr. Chair. So the main new money, if we were to look at it that way, is the 1.1 million in consistent curriculum funding. But again, there's the caveat that we have to spend it through Supply Ontario. So we're a little restricted in what we can actually utilize the funding for. And then there's that classroom materials of the 400,000, and then our census data, which is just under $1 million. So those are the main drivers, but those drivers are partially offset by our declining home.
Follow, just a quick comment. I missed it. Sorry. There's been a lot of work going into these 34 pages, and it was very well laid out. Every year it gets better and better. Looking at these numbers, so thank you to you and the staff, CEO Klein, your entire staff. There's a lot of work that's gone into that, so thank you very much. My second question is this: Supply Ontario. So they've been given $750, but it's my understanding that $300 of the $750 is coming out of our local school board. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah, through Mr. Chair, yeah, that's correct. So not the full amount is new money, and the 450 of the dollars is new money.
Thank you for the clarification.
Thank you, Vice Chair. We move on to Trustee Saunders.
I have several questions. You want me to ask a few and then put myself back in?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
You have one question, one follow-up, and then
one question, one follow-up? Okay. And then I'll go back in line. Just one quick question, I guess. First of all, can we get this deck? Yeah, okay. And just a few changes. So when we're doing reconciliation at the end, we were looking at, where we're at to, getting down to even. It was very small. I couldn't even read it. There's $2 million for WSAB. It says, so what's the plan on that? Like, we're going to the ministry and asking them to help fund it, or is that on the assumption that when we get to year end, I'm sorry, through you, is the assumption that there'll be like a change in the actuarial calculation, or just where's that $2 million coming?
Thank you. I'll pass the question to CEO Klein.
The purpose of tonight's sharing, Chair, really isn't to get into the operational manner of what strategies we have in place or what we're looking at in terms of tackling such a beast as WSIB, nor is it for something like attendance concerns as well. This is more of a higher level concern. We're not prepared to really discuss that tonight.
Well, this, excuse me, Chair, that's a made up number. Like, it's a $2 million made up number. Like, it's like, it is per.
I take offense to that. Comment, please, Trustee Saunders.
Yes.
I would ask you to tell your questions based on. Okay, first of all, the role of trustees, let me clarify, is not to get into the minutiae and details. Is not to get into the weeds. The role of trustees is a high level role. Okay, as per the new updated regulations being passed by the minister, the CEO will present the budget. Trustees have an opportunity to give inputs to the budget, and I hope all trustees have participated and given input to the budget, right? Now, if you are not given input, then you have lost your opportunity. That was the opportunity for trustees to give input to the budget. Right? Budgets are operational in nature. There's lots of conversation happening behind the scene. Okay, to be clear, staff is consulted, the parents are consulted. Trustees should have given input into this. They had opportunities.
No, we didn't.
Chair, Trustee Saunders, you do not have the floor. A survey went out to all trustees for the entire system, and trustees had an opportunity to provide input to this budget. I've seen the results of the survey, and I know that trustees have not participated. So either you're confident in the system, in the work done by the system, or you have no other questions.
Well, no, I do. I have to say we have a fiduciary responsibility.
So, yes, thank you. You have a responsibility to ask questions. Let's ask the questions at a high level. We are not getting into the weeds. CEO Klein has a responsibility under the Education Act, present the budget, which is done. CEO Klein has a responsibility to answer questions, and the answer, he's given you the answer.
What was the answer? I'm not going to answer it.
Yes, so CEO Klein has given you the answer. If you want same response, I shall ask CEO Klein again to please clarify.
The question was, as I recall it, sort of what is the plan? What is the mission in terms of, in this case, those expenditures, right? And the fact of the matter is those are operational. That's an operational item. That's not part of what we're doing here tonight.
It's fiduciary. this is our job.
Thank you, trustee Saunders. The answer remains the same. We shall now move on to a follow-up. Do you have a
I do have a follow-up. My next question was, I was sitting in the SEAC meeting last night, and it's always very interesting. One of the things that you mentioned here was that the SEAC budget is in deficit every year. And this year we are bringing on more itinerants. And my concern is, like, I know that you've explained that it's for some, to cover off some of these costs. But if we're bringing on itinerants, that's teachers that we now have to backfill. Has there been due consideration given to the cost through Mr. Chair? And is this a good expenditure? And we've also bring on a consultant as well.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. I'll pass this on. You get to see your plan.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not sure what SEAC's budget is. Your question talked about SEAC's budget.
And the money
SEAC doesn't have a budget.
No, but you saw it as well as I, 7.4 million deficit.
But you're not talking about SEAC though.
It was special education and mental health.
Special education and mental health expenditures, right, in terms of the budget?
Yes.
So your question is?
And we're bringing on, even though we're in deficit, we're bringing on more itinerants. We're bringing on a consultant. And I'm thinking, is this something that we should probably consider deferring until we get ourselves into a position of a balanced budget?
In terms of that operational matter, I don't have a comment. I'm not sure if Superintendent Jack Caldera cares to address it.
As was presented today, the itinerant positions that were introduced to the board for this year were coming from a budget where we were contracting out those resources. So the support that we were benefiting from were from a third party. So we shifted that budget line, which was very clearly was on display and was demonstrated from our presentation today. That we absorbed that budget to create an in-house model instead of a contract third-party model.
Thank you. I just want to add to that. Our parents have answered the survey and they found that special education was very important, was topmost on the list. I'm sure staff has taken that feedback into consideration with this plan. And Superintendent Jack Caldera, please correct me if I'm wrong. So it's a feedback from parents and it's a voice of the parents, so which staff has taken and operationalized that project. I shall move on to the next speaker. I'll come back to you. Trustee Murphy.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you to our CFO or wherever you choose to direct the question. So for my own edification, so it's June the 16th, the RFPs we don't have. There's an expectation that the preliminary budget's due the end of June. They're not coming. Okay, so that's a strategic decision by the powers that be not to issue that, which is in effect a reduction or budget cut. And then with the implications on WSIB. So is this a systemic issue that's going to impact many boards? I know you don't have necessarily in-depth knowledge of other boards, but is this creating a bigger problem in the system that we're going to see many boards with compliant but deficit budgets?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Trustee Murphy. I would say that the answer to that is yes. When Superintendent Lofts and I were at the CEO CFO conference several months ago, we were certainly hearing from the Ministry of Education what the headwinds were that we're facing provincially, that we couldn't argue contrary in any way that we're not facing those here. At Oxt a month ago, seems longer, we certainly heard in the business meeting from one of the labor advisors there, former superintendent from Wellington Catholic, who clearly showed through his PowerPoint presentation that as each of the last 5 years have gone on, that bar that shows boards that are hitting deficits is increasing. Anecdotally, when I talk to colleagues around the province and when I talk to them certainly in the GTA area that's facing the real devastation of declining enrollment, most of them are talking about deficits. So that is increasing. The same suspects that we're facing, WSIB, declining enrollment, sick leaves and things like that are all the ones that are hitting other boards. And we've seen what the carnage has been in terms of boards that are a lot bigger than us that have faced these problems. So in my understanding, these things are increasing.
Okay, so really the expectation is this could be the status quo moving forward until there's other strategic changes.
It's forcing boards to be, as I think of often, if you've visited Europe and you look at, let's say, Holland, which is a beautiful country, to see how they use every square inch of land, it is forcing boards to be as relentlessly economical. I won't say ruthlessly, but I think increasingly people have to begin to think that way about how they're allocating resources when the funding that supports it is not nearly what it should be or has been in the past.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Murphy, Trustee Powell, you're up next.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to say through you, thank you, I guess it's CFO Loss now, and Mr. Cross and your team. You guys did a fantastic job of presenting this, and I don't envy your positions whatsoever. One of my questions was already answered about the 750 classroom stipend. My next question, though, was about the spec ed funding. I just have a quick question, and I might have missed it, but you've got this, I think it said it was per pupil allocation. It was about 2.2 million in support for student funding. Has that increased at all from last year? And if so, do you know how much?
Ross?
Mr. Chair, the support for student funding, no, the main driver of the increase in special education was the third year of bringing in the census data that our board benefits from, and other boards within the province kind of lose money in sort of that reallocation of the census data and the needs within Halton region. So that's the main driver on the special education side. And the other piece that we've invested in is that care and treatment program. So this was the money that was announced for us for the first time last year. And now we're expanding that program, working with community partner, but also providing resources internally to support those students.
Thank you. Trustee Powell, your follow-up?
Yeah, I guess my question, maybe it's not a question, more of a concern, is how do we continue to, how do we get more money for this? You know, the government says they're invested in it, but is there, and maybe this is for another day, so you can pass me on, but yeah, how do we continue to petition for more funding for this and for our students per pupil, since we're the lowest funded board?
Let's take the questions, Superintendent. I'll defer to you, Mr. Chair. So trustees have a OCSTA association, which we used to have resolutions every year. And every year we put forth resolutions. And those resolutions were used by OCSTA to kind of petition the ministry. There have been severe restrictions on OCSTA now. In the past years, we have been quite successful in petitioning the ministry. So I'm not really sure the path moving forward. I'm looking to our regional director, vice chair, if she's got any insights into this matter. Not.
I do not have a crystal ball at this time. We're not sure.
So we are not sure about the path forward. But the ministry provides funding for special education. We do understand there's a shortfall, but it's something I'm not sure how we can address the board.
Okay. Well, thank you. And again, thank you to your team for doing an amazing job trying to find money. I appreciate it.
Up next, we go to Trustee Carabella.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to ask regarding the international students that we've had listed. And I know you mentioned that immigration was, but it was caused, like it's 45% less on the grid, and that immigration was the reason. Could it be as well that we're not recruiting as we are in the past as well? Like, what is our recruiting strategy for international students?
Pass this to Superintendent Lawrence.
Mr. S, and to Trustee Caravella, just to address that comment, we actually invested heavily last year in recruiting. So we should be seeing the impacts of those recruitments now or not. You can see the numbers speak for themselves. So I think it's important to realize that there has been factors outside of what Halton Catholic District School Board can do with respect to international students. We should be reaping some of the benefits of our past recruiting right now, right? We went on recruitment trips last year, as we all know. We really aren't seeing that increase or that ongoing. And I think a large part is due to the changes in the federal immigration policies.
Thank you, Trustee Caravella.
I guess follow up, I didn't realize, I thought we didn't go on any recruiting.
And we went last year.
Last year? Okay, and then like regarding the immigration, does our board have a particular cap as well? Like, or if we could get more students, we can, if we don't have a particular cap, it's just how many students.
Superintendent Lawrence.
Chair, there is no per se cap. Now I will mention that the ministry does recoup $1,300 per student.
Right.
So that factors into it. But as far as a cap per se, there's not really words. Yeah, it hasn't, the numbers we've had wouldn't even close to having a cap.
Sure, the denominational restrictions within elementary, right?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Caravella. Next, I'll go to Trustee Kennedy first and then come to the question. Trustee Kennedy, you'll go.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Just regarding the survey, just a question. The survey that the trustees were given, the parent stakeholders, was that the same survey? Was there I saw that survey. I did see the executive survey. Was that one for everyone, or was there a separate survey specifically?
There was a drop-down menu and you could select trustee and put in your feedback there.
So it was the same survey. Okay.
Any follow-up?
Yeah, that was just a question, just to clarify.
Thank you.
No, just get one, and it's trustee O'Hearn's ahead of me.
Okay, good.
It's okay?
Yep.
Okay. Just regarding the international students, so we mentioned we're heavily invested. Because it looks like it's about $1.5 million, and I think it's a challenging year with the $2.5 million. That looks like we're under. So how have we been heavily investing in trying to bring the number up? You mentioned Superintendent Lawson, we're heavily invested in. What do we do? Like, is it marketing? Is it online? Is it? Yeah.
Mr. Chair?
So, yeah, thank you. Thank you, Trustee Kennedy. I'll just stay talking to the budget here, and I don't want to stray too far away from the budget and numbers. But if you can have a quick answer, then that's fine. Let's stay back, stay focused on the budget.
So, Mr. Chair, as you know, and it came to the board to approve the trips. We did have a superintendent attend many international trips with the goal of recruiting enrollment to our board. At a cost to this board, we made the investment to recruit, as you can see with our numbers and the projections. I won't necessarily say that when those decisions were made, obviously we didn't know what the immigration policy would be changed to at that point in time. So that's what I was referring to.
Not about that question.
Come back later.
Not a follow-up to that question.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other question?
Just a totally different question.
Let's go with that.
Okay. Just wondering, to Manager Cross, through your chair to.
Yep.
Manager Cross, you mentioned about the REPs. Do we have any kind of idea, like if we don't get a number by a certain date, that we're just not going to get it? Yeah.
Yeah. I'll pass it to Superintendent Lawrence.
Through you, Mr. Chair, to Trustee Kennedy. We don't know, Trustee. We've been following up. COSBO, which are the superintendents of business across the province, have been following up with the ministry quite often, as recently as last week. And the response we get is the same response that we have today to tell you there hasn't been anything confirmed, it's coming. So we had to make, well, that's what we've been told, but we were told that also a month ago. So we had to make a decision as to what we're going to do with respect to this budget. We had a bank on it not coming, 50% into that. So we don't have any, so that's why we couldn't add it in.
Thank you.
I'll just follow to that. If we don't get it by, say, June 30th, does that mean, could they still give it in September? They can do that.
Yeah, sorry, that's true for you. It has happened before too, Trustee Kennedy. We have had additional REPs throughout the year. When they announce it in the spring, we've also received additional REPs throughout the year. The majority do come in the spring, but we have had some. So you're correct. They could come, really.
Thank you. I'll go to Vice Chair Vanchanada.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair, and to CEO Klein. This may sound like an odd question, but I want to put it on record. This plan, the 2026 and 2027 budgets, you've approved as CEO as our board. Is that a correct statement?
Right.
Okay, because in the new regulations that are been sent out there for putting students first, it requires the CEO can get input from trustees. However, it's at the discretion of the CEO with compliance and their professional judgment. So we can have our input, but it's really up to the CEO, Director Klein, once this passes, to approve this. Okay? May I have a follow-up?
So a little bit of a correction. My understanding is the CEO presented the budget to the trustees and provided trustees have input. So trustees
Trustees are allowed input,
So
correct. But at the end of the day, the regulation states, as I read, any requested changes would be at the discretion of the CEO, informed by their professional judgment and compliance with statutory and regulatory requirements. I am reading verbatim from what went out to all of us, and it looked for feedback till the end of May. So I just want to make sure that's clear, because that's a change moving forward. And Director Vox, I want to make sure we're following the potential regulations.
Right.
Thank you. May I have a follow-up?
Sure.
Okay. So I'd like to do a point of order, maybe too late, but I've been sitting here and I can't get it out of my head. I'd like to refer you to Chair to 10.8, conduct of a member. Trustee Saunders literally said made up numbers to our staff who has 34 pages. I would like an apology from Trustee Saunders to our staff. Referencing bylaw 10.8.
Point of order.
Point of order, sir. Trustee Saunders, you do not have the floor.
I'm asking for
You do
more.
not have the floor, right? I'm responding. I'll come back to you. So, plus, Vice Chair, it's a little late. You got to raise a point of order at the point in time. So at this point in time, I will only caution all trustees to be focused, stay focused on the budget, the number presented, understand our roles and responsibilities. And as per the Education Act, we cannot raise accusations against staff. And I'm going to caution all trustees once again, let's stay focused on the numbers presented. We're all here for a particular reason, to do the best for our students, bring you back to the table. Okay, so let's let our tempers come down a little bit, and let's focus and come back.
So
Trustee Saunders, yeah.
So I have a follow-up to my point of order. So where does it state there's a timing for point of order?
It does not, but point of order should be raised at a point in time.
Where does it say that?
It does not.
With all due respect, Chair?
So
I'm looking at our bylaws. Does it say where a point of order can be raised? That maybe I've changed my mind through the meeting and I can't get that out of my head, that one of our trustees has said made up numbers?
Right. So,
I'd like clarification on that.
yes, so the bylaws do not speak to anything, nor does Robert will speak to anything. Okay. Points of orders are generally raised at the moment. Okay, I cannot go back to the situation and try to recollect what I said. So it's simple as, in future, please raise a point of order at the instance. Okay, thank you. I hope you understand.
I don't really, but I would take your agreement. As I'm going through the meeting, the point of order was bothering me, so I want to make sure we raise it on record.
In order to make a ruling, I have to go back and try to understand.
There's other avenues. Thank you,
I have a
Mr.
very
Chair.
short-term memory.
Yeah.
So
Thank you.
So Trustee Saunders, you raise a point of order. Can you state a point of order?
Oh, it's based on your.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We shall continue to move on. Up next is Trustee Kennedy, you have the floor.
Thank you, Andrea, Mr. Chair. Just going back to the REPs. So we may get some information later, which is great. Through you, Mr. Chair, to maybe Mr. Cross. You mentioned that 2.605 million is moving to core ed, so that makes it easier for us because we know kind of what we can work with. But some of it's still enveloped. What was it before? Like, I'm trying to find the number. Was it like I thought it was 3.4 million. So are we off by about 800,000? Is that right?
Sorry, Mr. Chair. So in terms of the reps that made up the 3.9 million, I believe it was last year, we're still waiting on hearing from about 1.3. So the 2.6 million is not 100% the reps because there's a dual credit component that's about 400,000. So that part was coming from a different ministry in terms of that funding. So it wasn't part of the rep program, but yeah, so we're still waiting to hear on about 1.3 million in reps that they haven't made any announcements for and weren't rolled into the core.
Thank you, Trustee Kennedy.
Mr. Chair. So it's about 1.3 we're waiting for. You mentioned too that regarding the reps, we decided that we're gonna, regardless if we don't have the cash flow, we're gonna fund them anyway. There was two. I know one was human rights and equity. I forgot, didn't catch the first one. Can you tell me in a minute? Okay, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I didn't know if you were finished. Go ahead.
It was just one more.
Okay, so I guess really the question is, why did we?
No, there was one more. I just didn't hear what it was.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was the, we had another one for IT. It was actually two.
So human rights and equity and IT.
Yeah, there was two. It was totaling about $314,000. One was for 180, and then another one was for about 135, which was for, we've used them for like vape sensors, cameras, things like that. So we've lumped it into IT. Yes.
Thank you. Trustee Kennedy, I'll come back to you. Trustee Saunders?
Yeah, just a question. Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair. I noticed that we're anticipating a reduction in the cost for teachers due to, I guess, injuries. And I know that the superintendent at Gloss has mentioned a number of times that concussions seem to be a concern. And I'm wondering, along with our attendance support program, do we have a plan in place to help mitigate that issue?
Superintendent, possible to CEO.
Okay, so that's an administrative rather than a governance related matter. I think we have talked about it before. That perhaps would be something that would come up in other information items, but in this case, this is operational, not a purview of tonight's conversation.
Thank you. That's my clarification.
Chair, do you agree with that assessment?
I would agree with the CEO's response. Trustees had opportunities, several points. We had a PD session. We also had an information session on the budget. Trustees have an opportunity to give an input. Trustees have had opportunities to reach out to Superintendent Love to ask questions and clarify. So these are all the opportunities that trustees have had to have your questions clarified. So I agree with the response of CEO tonight. So you have a follow-up question?
Well, I guess I just, I'll just reframe it. Why do we anticipate that number going down?
Is that a good forecast?
For the why are we?
Mr. Chair, you'd have to clarify what number exactly.
There was
is it the one that there was a made up?
You know, there was a number that we had. I think it was the cost of hiring replacement teachers. It was 10 million, and it's going to go down by 900,000. We could probably go through the deck and find it if you want.
Yeah,
that's my question. Why do we anticipate that number?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, 3 years ago, here. So the decrease that we're projecting is only 130,000 from share, and so that's part of it is the full year of the attendance support expanded team and the work of the new committee that's been implemented with respect to attendance support. So that's where we're projecting. We're also seeing less elementary teachers because of the enrollment, even though total teachers went up. So we've adjusted our elementary component to the occasional teachers to decrease, reflect that decrease in teachers on the elementary side. It's just a small change in the 100.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Trustee. So I'll come back to you if you have more questions. Trustee Kennedy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just regarding the RUPs again, at one point you used to give us, well, because we don't have the list of all, there was like 18, I think you said, one time. Through Mr. Chair. So some of the ones that they've taken out, it looks like they've kept the math. I believe you mentioned that.
Yeah.
They moved those in. The big one that I saw from before, just wondering if that was kept, because it's like a really large one. It's called education staff. I think they mean educational staff to support reading interventions. It was like 965. That like, is that one also in the 2.605?
Yeah, so that one is included in the 2.6. So we saw the core educational ones move into or the core or critical education ones. So that's our reading and our math, like our new, move into core education, which is awesome. That's what we want to see. So we can continue to support reading, writing, and mathematics. But it's the other ones where we haven't seen them announced.
Kennedy?
Just the last one on REPs before other questions. So if we don't have this information, let's say we think we banked on the fact that we may not get the REPs. I think that maybe the ministry's trying to tell us something, or they not want us, like if we don't have money for human rights and equity and IT and everything but more, are we going to fund those programs anyway, like the way that we used to? Or are we going to have to say they're not giving us the funding for that? Maybe they're trying to say something. Are we going to reduce anything in those areas?
I'll pass this question to CEO Clay.
Like your hand was up first.
I was just going to say that's operational. It's a decision that you have to decide as of right now. They are staying as is.
Yeah, so the budget component, though, the actual funding in the budget, not exactly how you do program, operationally how you run programs, but just if they're not giving you money for programs, are we going to just find other ways to fund those programs? Not how you do the program.
We have to. That's what we had to do this year, Trustee Kenny, because it was removed, right? And it was part of one of our strategic pillars in our organization. So we need to find the money internally, just like we get to find the money internally for other areas. It would have helped if we had known what it was going to be right now. Just like IT, cybersecurity too. We're investing in different areas of that as well. And we have to trust. I don't know if that answers what you're.
No, it does. And then just to follow up, so where would we typically get that? I guess we just have to use like reserves, right? Essentially.
Part of it is we would use reserves, or we find savings in other areas of the organization. We use budgets in different areas. Like there's a pinch that we're seeing, and we're seeing it. This isn't be new to anybody. We've been bringing this for years. All these concerns that we've had, it's just getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And when you're not receiving any increases for all our non-staffing items in our budgets, it starts really having an impact, and that's where we're at right now. WSIB is just the newest surprise. As Adam mentioned, it was 250,000 in 2016. That's essentially putting us non-compliant right away, $4.5 million.
Thank you, trustees. Any other questions? Trustee Bell? Trustee Bell?
Just a question. The pages won't line up exactly because we didn't have that report, the board report on page 110. Or 108 actually, but 110 on the PDF, but 108 in the document. You mentioned about how we are getting a slight decline in enrollment, 100 and some. So, but we also
secondary, we're going up, elementary.
Yeah, exactly. But we also mentioned that we might increase teachers by 15.5. So the half is interesting, but it's another day. So, but when I look at page 110 and I look at the salary, I'm not looking at the benefits because those are very wonky, but the better term. But when I look at classroom teacher salaries and wages, so we're adding 15.5 teachers. And then there's also inflation. I imagine there's always inflation.
This year there isn't though, because there is, because the contracts are up and the ministry used to give us a provision. Sorry, Mr. Chair, through you, but just, yeah, so normally you're correct. There's been we would call it provision to put in the budget for that, but this year they didn't. So it's the teachers, it's status quo. So there is no increase because our contract expires at the end of August of this year.
So that answers that part. So, but just salaries and benefits, if we are hiring like 15.5 more, and we have the revised estimates from last year, and the teacher component goes down only by about 74,000. But like just think we're hiring 15.5 more, probably seems like it's 1 to 2 million or more, or in that range. But yet we have less budget for salaries and wages for teachers. We also have less for occasional teachers, 277,000, and less for ECE teachers, 268,000. So I'm just wondering, like, how is it that if we add 15.5 teachers that we're projecting to spend 620,000 less on salaries?
Through you, Mr. Chair. So, yeah, when we were working on the staffing for the upcoming year, one of the things that we incorporated in the budget is like attrition through retirements. So oftentimes when we have teachers that are retiring, they're retiring at the top of the grid. When we're adding new teachers, they're coming in at the lower end of the grid. So that's why we're seeing in classroom teachers' perspective that decrease even though we're adding teachers is because the new teachers are coming in at a much lower number than what the teachers that were leaving the board through retirement are leaving at.
And Mr. Chair, go ahead. And we also saw, you mentioned about the ECs as well. Our enrollment is down in kindergarten. So it's having a direct impact on ECE.
And just follow up, yeah. Well, for the ECs, it was 705,000. So that's a lot of ECs. Like, is it?
It's salaries and benefits,
Just salaries.
Yeah, sorry, but I'm just thinking out loud, right? I'm just thinking, but you're just focusing on the salary side. I know we dropped and I don't have the number, but the ECs are down.
So, sorry, through you, Mr. Chair, EAs are down to 705.
Oh, sorry, yeah, you're right.
EAs are.
257.
Yeah.
Just on line.
Okay. So they're both down.
Yeah, they're both down. So in terms of compared to revised estimates on the EA side, we added an additional 10 resources at revised estimate, so temporary employees. So now we're back to kind of the original complement. So that's why we're seeing the more significant decrease on the EA side, and then the EC side. That's just because of the projected lower kindergarten classes.
Just to follow up, Mr. Through you. Sorry, is there someone else I can wait?
There's nobody else, so please ask your question.
So through you, Mr. Chair, with all that, do you think at the end of the day, just in layman terms, will teachers have less support than they had before because we're cutting, or is it kind of equalized based on the lower? Yeah.
Mr. Chair, I would hope that it would be we're providing as much support as we can within the funding constraints that we're seeing. So some of the departments do a very good job of trying to repurpose resources, in particular on the special education side, to still try and address those increasing needs with maybe not as much funding as we would have liked or hoped to actually tackle some of these problems.
So yeah, so the programming is done by spec and so.
Which is one of the questions the parents survey, so I just want to ask.
Yeah.
That's the question. I'm glad this year we put that component in there that said, we heard your survey. I think Trustee Johan brought up first, and then these are the three things that we did, or five things.
More questions?
Yeah, sorry, just to shift focus, continuing education, that's a big one. That's down about 500 and 600,000. Do you know what's why?
So within the continuing education expenses is that federal government program. So a lot of the decrease there is driven off of that program and not our kind of core business continuing education program. So really losing $1 million in funding for that program caused that program to kind of offer less services. But that was the direction of the federal government when they were negotiating that new agreement.
Through you, Mr. Chair, operating, we had another topic. I think you mentioned it went up by about 1.2 million. Just as other, it's an operating expense. Went up 72%. That's why I just looked at a larger number. And it was basically 1.7 million this year, and it went up to almost 3 million.
Yes. So through you, Mr. Chair. So I think the question was raised the last couple of years at anytime we were bringing our quarterly reports that there was a line in there in other people accommodation that we would have an expense, but we wouldn't have a budget for it. Essentially, that was the interest on our EDC land. So just a reminder for everybody, when we collect funding to purchase new land for new schools through education development charges. Historically, when we presented the budget, we just kind of netted the in-year revenue that we could apply to cover the in-year costs related to servicing that debt, and then just bring kind of a net number for compliance calculation. This year, to better show trustees and the school community like what those costs are kind of every year, we included the interest costs in there, but we've also included the revenue to offset that. So there's no net impact of that amount on compliance, but it's just more accurately reflecting the true cost that we incur when it comes to purchasing these sites, as they're getting exponentially more pricey to buy as land in Halton becomes more scarce.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. Yeah, just what you mentioned, just didn't get the number, but you mentioned that school budgets that were reduced. I think you said slightly.
Yeah.
What is like?
150, yeah, through Mr. Chair, 150,000 is the total reduction. But it's offset because we've taken some of the tech costs, so central. So as part of sort of the budget, we've removed a little component of the secondary budget to the tune of 150,000. But we've also taken on some of the larger tech needs for like the tech classes. So anytime they have to replace larger equipment, we've taken that centrally so that we can better serve. Because what we were finding was that if I'm a school who knows they need to replace like CNC machine or something of that nature, typically you can't cover the full cost of that within your budget allocation in any given year because you still have operational needs that you also want to address. So by sort of pooling that money centrally rather than dispersing it to the boards, we can tackle those projects without it really impacting any one school in any given year.
Okay, so trustee, we have had a good conversation.
Yeah, I would like to make a final comment.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Hold on 1 second. So we have taken almost an hour to have a good discussion, and we should be having a good discussion on good discussion on the budget. So you have a lot more questions, you know.
I just have one.
One final question?
Well, I'll just make it one.
Okay. I'll come back to Superintendent Law for the final comment.
No, go ahead. It's okay.
No, that's fine. More questions? Go ahead. It's fine.
Just wondering about expenses. If we look at like certain, I mean, imagine you mentioned we did everything we could to try to reduce the deficit as much as we could, like 2.5 million.
Mr. Chair, just to clarify, really, it's actually, if you look at it, it's about 1.8, and we have the extra 714,000 that the state for twice.
Right.
So, but in total, it's 2.5, you're correct, but really, as far as coming out, it's about 1.8.
So it's compliant.
Well, it's how the industry is treating our past capital project we've already saved for, which is a whole other reason, which why we are in deficit. But on a pure operational basis, it's about that.
So it's still compliant.
Yeah, so
Yeah. So if the ministry did like, if we had to, I know you've done a lot, but if we had to say, we need to get that number down a little bit, is there anything in the budget that we could potentially cut that is, you know, nice to have, we want to have it, but because they're not giving us as much, that we could say, this is something we could look at?
I think
that's all.
From a simple non-financial person's point of view, when you're going to take money, cut something, you know, reduce this money, something, it has come out from somewhere.
That's what I'm saying. How would we do?
So it's not a straightforward answer, and I don't think it's the staff that needs to have the conversations and reassess the priorities and all this part of it. So Superintendent Law, within curriculum, something
we have to come back.
Something has to do.
You got to remember too, we've been fighting this battle for a number of years now and making adjustments through all these years. We haven't brought any new initiatives, program enhancements in so many years. We've been looking at non-staffing budgets throughout the number of years. We have increased costs in AI now. AI is expensive. People want to use it. There's no funding for it. In fact, we have less funding for cybersecurity because we don't have the REPs. As you've looked at what our inflationary pressures are, Mr. Kennedy, we're not getting any inflationary pressure, with the exception of utilities. But as you know, we have Microsoft bills and Dell computer bills and all the other items as well that we have as an organization. So it's really becoming extremely difficult. And now when you factor in some of these new expenditures such as WSAB that have really escalated, it's getting very challenging, more challenging each year.
Okay, so I think you got answer to your question. So let's move on. Okay, so thank you, trustees. Good questions. Tough questions to chair. Yeah, Superintendent Law.
I just want to address, there was an accusation that one of our numbers was a made-up number. In fact, I believe that's what it was referred to. We look at the tape after to confirm if that's what the comment was. I just want to address that because that's a very powerful statement to say. As CFO of this organization, it was not a made-up number. It was as Senior Manager Cross mentioned in our report. Last year, we saw a significant decrease in our WSIB. We planned in April, we were told in April it was going to be a certain number. I believe it was around $3.5 million. What we got when we did our final budget, our financial statements back in as of August 31st, we got the updated actuary number. It was 1.7. So there was almost a $2 million savings, not even a savings. It's, well, I guess it technically was from what we budgeted for we had. So what that represented was we were taking money out of the system. right? We took money out of the system on a number that was an actuarial number. That's for compliance purposes, that's what happened. This year, we decided to add that 2 million. We were willing to take that risk per se, knowing that we have the compliance values there. We were within compliant. We had enough of a reserve so that if something like that happens again and the number is correct and it is 4.5, we can absorb it. But the alternative to that would be that it would go down as well. And that's what we would have had as we saw past year when we had a $2 million savings. So it was not a made up number. Adam did an excellent job explaining that in the presentation. So I just wanted to clarify that for the record. It was definitely not a made up number.
May I?
No, sorry. I give the floor to Superintendent Locke. Clarify, you had the opportunity to speak, and with this, we're going to end this discussion. Trustees have had the opportunity to ask questions, provide input multiple times. We are going to have a special board meeting in a week's time. Trustees will have opportunity once again between now and that time to reach out to staff, ask questions and clarify things. Okay. The rules have changed for presentation of the budget. I would like all trustees to go back and review the rules and regulations as set forth by the ministry. Okay. I'm not going to be discussing that here, but each trustee has a responsibility to understand the rule, the regulation as it stands. Okay.
Point of privilege.
Sorry.
Point of privilege.
Yeah, state your point of privilege, please.
I would like to respond. You allowed.
I'm ending discussion over there.
Sorry, I would like to respond.
Point of privilege denied. So I'm ending the discussion at this point in time. Okay. And we'll continue. So, Superintendent Locke, Mr. Cross, and the staff, I really want to thank you for the work done in the teams. I've received the money of the code being made. I really appreciate collaborating and working. It's not only the finance departments, it's also the our staff, the various departments in the back who have been working long hours, and we really appreciate that. Okay, so thank you so much for presenting. So your plan you want to close?
I don't close by echoing again what you'd said earlier, Chair, thanking our staff who works on this. Whatever we do, the decisions we make are always aligned with our MYSP and the other priorities that we have articulated. These are articulated by our trustees who represented our community. So when we make these decisions, and I think there was a question came up earlier about how do you make those decisions between priority A or B or C? Well, it ain't easy. And in the end, what we do is we try and reach consensus on it, try and see if there's something that the ministry is doing or some other organization is doing that we can ride the wake of to try and help us economize. And that's why we're given the responsibility to make those decisions. But it would be that, it would be responding to the surveys, it's looking at other data that emerges. And again, trying to read the tea leaves in terms of where the province and the ministry is going as well. It's a bit of an art, a bit of a science, but we do that in collaboration. And again, we reflect, we try and make sure that it abides by the priorities that were set by you and set by the community here.
Thank you. So your plan. With that, we shall move on. Thank you for your presentation. We shall move on to item 11.2, provincial consolidation of school board financial statement, accountant's report with respect to the 7-month period from September 1st, 2025 to March 31st, 2026. Superintendent Locke, please present your report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you, please find a task for provincial consolidation of school board financial statement accountants report for the 7-month period, September 1st, 2025 to March 31st, 2026. The report is required by the province to align with its March 31st year end. The report was successfully filed with the Ministry of Education on May 15th, 2026. Mr. Chair, this report is presented as information.
Thank you. Trustees, any questions for Superintendent Locke? Thank you, Superintendent Locke, for your presentation. Looks like I went directly to 11.2. We go to 11.1 for CEO's update.
Chair, and just because of the new nomenclature, maybe that's very us Superintendent Locke is on a roll. We want to keep them going while he had that momentum. I'm going to start off by just talking about the SHSM program. This has been something that has been, I think, a strong suit in secondary schools in Ontario for pushing 15, 20 years now. And what it does is the screen has shown you, it allows students to customize their skills that suit their interests, think about careers as they're moving on, using some hands-on skills. It is a reflection of often the needs of a particular school, sometimes the gifts and the supports that a community will provide for them. So it might differ from Milton to Cambridge to Sudbury or any other area. Allows them to think about careers, think about the steps that it takes, whether it's saving money to get to a career, the pathways through whether it's a college or other post-secondary institution, and allow them to think about the transition, because we know with our children from kindergarten and then through grade 8 to high school, it's those transition periods that are often the most difficult, not just for students, but for we parents as well. I want to celebrate the fact that we have been given the green light by the Ministry of Education to have 4 new SHSM programs in our board. They are arts and culture programs, sports, health and wellness. Obviously, it's doubled up in one of the cases. And those are going to be at Assumption, Bishop Reading, Holy Trinity, and Notre Dame. Of course, they add on to the programs that we have through in all our schools, all our high schools, which will now be more than 50 of them. That addition of 4 is really good. Like if you look at comparable other boards, that's hitting it out of the park. And I think that says a lot about the diligence and the passion of our teachers in our schools. One of the greatest parts about being a teacher is you can have the pleasure of forming students, having students achieve and learn, but also very often, because of your own passions, your own skills, you're able to harness those as well. And again, why I think it's the greatest profession ever. So we're here to celebrate that, and we're very grateful for the teachers and others who worked hard on that. The Business Leadership Conference, Notre Dame has held this for nearly 24 years. Like, this is an institution now. And business teacher John Barbati is really at the heart of it. However, this has got to be one of the biggest student committees in our board. There's 50 students that help organize this. That itself is a couple of sections of students. And they, when we were there to see them in action, they were filled with passion, filled with creativity, and filled with energy. And I spent the sort of middle part of the day, late morning to early afternoon, and we were able to see, again, there's leaders from business, sports, entertainment. They always have a keynote speaker, and I am officially out of the youth culture now. So I had to ask people, and they told me, and they confirmed that I'm an old man. Penn Badgley, again, who's been in a few series, was the keynote speaker there. When we saw him speak, it really was almost like an older brother talking to high school students about certainly trusting themselves, their decisions, slowing things down a bit when it comes to moving from high school into post-secondary and the working world. And he was really well received and by the students. And again, just another example of how that program, a reflection of the passion of a teacher, the coordination and the support from staff and leaders at the school has turned something into what is an institution really here at Halton Catholic District School Board. And we're very grateful for that, and grateful for John and the students and the work that they did. Has to be one of the most favorite times of the year. We talk about just through budget, how numbers go up and numbers go down. I remember last year when we had this, I don't think it was half. I think it was like a fifth of what we had at this one in terms of staff at the board who are reaching those milestones. And milestones here, obviously arbitrarily, it's 25 years of service or someone who's retiring. And we were there to celebrate that at Corpus Christi. Great salute to the staff and the students there who did a lot of work. And we had well over 160 staff members from this board were there. Almost all of them were there, and their families were there cheering them on. And we were able to honor them and congratulate them and have obviously a whole series of pictures done with them. And we were honored to have a great friend of the school board, Monsignor Colin O'Mahony, lead us in prayer through the Mass. And then we have the Sacred Heart of Jesus Catholic Elementary School choir there as well. They were absolutely phenomenal. And again, I haven't seen that bigger crowd in a long, long time. We were very grateful to that. It was great food afterward to celebrate. So wonderful to see the families too. Very often we toil, not that it's onerous work, but we work here in the board. And it's kind of like you come home, your kids know you exist in another world. Sometimes even your spouse might know you exist in another world, but they can't. It's all theoretical. And the joy that was on the faces of children, of spouses, of families, to kind of see, okay, this is something that you're admired at, loved, and valued at as much, if not as much as you are in our own home. So a wonderful opportunity for that. Again, a reflection of just the amazing work we've done over the last few years to ensure that our Black identifying students, staff, and families are feeling that they are safe, they're nurtured, that their achievement is a priority here at the board. And that was clear to me when it came to June 2nd. That was the part of June, if you remember, where it was hot. So that night we were at Thomas Merton Center for Continuing Education. And the night was a Black Excellence Parent Caregiver Symposium. And the name leading it was Sawubona. And we actually had one of our parent leads, who's on our Anti-Black Racism Steering Committee, who is from West Africa, so who actually understands Izulu, and she was able to say, aha, that in that language and some of the other shared languages in that part of the world, it means I see you, but it means I see you in a true honor sense, not just I see you coming down the road. It's if you meet in the path, that is a great way of honoring someone's inherent dignity, and to say, even in terms of transcending time, I see what you were, what you are, and beyond that. And it was beautiful even to learn that itself. We had some great speakers. We had Ontario Poet Laureate Matthew Testament Jones, who did some of his spoken poetry. And he also shared with us that he was, at least for a year or two, at Loyola a few years ago. And I thought that was very full circle-ish for us to celebrate that day. And it was, again, a wonderful night for celebration, for joy, and for fellowship. And very proud of the work that we've done in that regard. Thomas Merton comes up again and again and again. We've got to stop this. But we did have a citizenship ceremony at Thomas Merton Center for Continuing Ed the month earlier on May the 15th. And it was a Friday. It was a citizenship ceremony. We had 60 new Canadians. There's some people in this room who've experienced that ceremony. Some of you have witnessed it. If you haven't witnessed it, it is an absolutely beautiful ceremony. We had a justice come here, and his name was Anthony Blair. I wanted to say something, but I didn't. Anthony Blair was the presiding citizenship judge. We had other civic leaders honoring these new Canadians, and we were able to shake the hands of every one of them. And one of the things I felt really blessed to do is like shake a hand and say, so where did you come from? It was all over the globe, all over the globe. And just for, a little stitch in time, it could have been your or my or us or our grandparents or our parents or our great-great-great-great-great-grandparents. But the stories are similar in many ways. And the resilience, the courage, and the faith and the hope that they have in this new beginning is amazing. And very often they're bringing little guys as well. And we did have St. Andrew's choir there as well. I think almost every student was there because it was packed, and they filled that stage. They did a wonderful, wonderful job celebrating that special day. And I've left this for last, and I've spoken on a couple of occasions now about Nancy. So this is another opportunity for me, and just to look over there and see where Nancy had stayed her post for many, many years as a leader here is, well, there's a mix of emotions to look over there, to be quite honest. I want to convey to all of you on behalf of all of us, senior team, and I think I speak for trustees as well, more than beyond what the chair has done already, just to say to the family how sorry we are to know of this loss, and to acknowledge that for us, Nancy was a colleague, she was a friend, and she was someone who toiled in the vineyard with all of us day in and day out. I had the moment yesterday when I was talking to the family at the funeral home. One of them had shared with me that this is who she was. She adored teaching, adored educating. And I've said it before about how whether it's teaching or any other profession or any other calling, when you meet someone who loves what they do, it's a joy to be with them. And she really loved what she did. And at the funeral home, you saw pictures of her when she was just little, and you saw those. It was a blessing to be able to see her, growing up, seeing the love of her parents and the hopes that they would have had in her, and how proud they must be for how she turned out and what she's done to make this board and this community richer. In Catholicism, we often talk about the work we do. We use the word vocation. You hear it very typically in the Catholic tradition and in our language. We try and talk to our students about the beyond vocations as being those who are ordained or otherwise. Vocations, all of us are called to a vocation. And some of that's in our parenthood, some of it's in whatever other work we do. We often talk in our culture about, the best of the best teachers in Catholic education see their work as a vocation. They see it as an extension really of a baptismal call to be priests, prophets, and kings, to show that they have dignity and to show that those whom they encounter, whom they try and form and teach and lead, also have great dignity and inherent dignity that's unbreakable, unshakable, and is infinite. That was Nancy. I had said before that a former staff member emailed me very early on. I got tons of emails from so many people. So many people not just had encountered her, but people, it's beautiful to know that other boards, the solidarity, the sense that others are there with us, grieving with us, supporting us. But one had said at the end of the email, she was simply the best. And I've said before, pardon for repeating it, for me, she was Halton Catholic in many ways. I relied on her wisdom in many ways because she had a good horse sense and a good sense of the temperature here. And remarkably, we all know people like that. They have a sense of, oh, that's her cousin and she's connected. All those things that if you're not born and raised in a community, you can step on tripwires, you can stumble, you can not notice things. I really relied on that. But beyond that, she was someone who I think lived life to the full. As much as we grieve for her loss and our loss, we have to acknowledge that all life is a blessing, and we're truly grateful and truly blessed to have had the opportunity to work with Nancy D'Onofrio. So I will end it up there. All of us have been very blessed, and we should all thank God for the time we did have with Nancy. And we commend her soul to our loving God. And that's it.
Thank you, CEO Klein, for an update. At this point in time, I'll ask trustees to raise your hand if you have any questions for CEO Klein. If not, I want to thank CA Plan for presenting the board update. We shall now move on to item 11.3, 2026 long-term capital plan. Superintendent Lofts, please present your report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you, let's try to go after that. Mr. Chair, please find attached ACDSB's long-term capital plan report and feedback that looks at our capital needs. I'd like to acknowledge Bob Vidovich.
Send it home.
Okay. Thanks, Ron. Our senior manager of planning, who put a lot of work into this. Mr. Chair, this report is submitted as information.
Thank you. Trustees, any questions on the 2026 long-term capital plan? Trustee Carabell, I see your hand up.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just noticed one of the numbers going through it, that the retention rates have increased between like the elementary schools and going into high schools. And I was wondering if you could speak to that as to what do you think a factor is in that good increase in retention rates?
Superintendent Lofts.
I can start and maybe I'll have some others help me out. I think it's a lot of work that the principals do and the administration of the school to show the benefits of our secondary schools. I also think it's a lot of work with our secondary school principals, showing all we have to offer our students. Saying, look what we have in our schools, look what we offer, look at the program, look at our facilities. All those things would factor into our retention rates.
Thank you. And just to add on to the chair, I think we'll go to Superintendent Kroll as well. When I talked earlier about those transition points as being really key, right? We talked about, when your child started kindergarten, I was like, huge. And then going to next step really is that step into high school. The conversation, and I would say my own observation here is that the alignment between our secondary schools and their, call them feeder schools that head into them, is very tight. I think there's a certain, in small e, evangelical kind of energy there in terms of, like any good parent, you have high expectations. Of course, you're going to be going to. Of course, we're not even, why would I even entertain a thought of somewhere else? We're heading there. Conversation, because we're smaller than other boards, bigger than other boards too. The conversation in terms of what our expectations are around programming, good pedagogy, are nicely aligned and in sync. Conversations are certainly strong in the grade 8 to 9 shift, where we have, there's meetings and purposeful planning around that. And I believe for our students who are maybe more vulnerable, those conversations start even earlier. So parents would know if they have a child for whom they might have more fear or concern about that landing nicely and adroitly in a grade 9, that those are thought out ahead of time. It's Superintendent Kroll, anything you want to add?
Sure, I can certainly add that. I think one of the strengths that we have as a system is we have a variety of different programs that we can offer to students. So you would be aware of, in addition to our AP and IB programming, our French programming, our regional sports program that we've spoken about at this table before, our student programming that we offer. I think certainly since I was a school principal, has certainly expanded the opportunities for students, but I'll also certainly point to my colleagues in program services, Superintendent Jack Caldera's work with transition planning for students, as well as Superintendent Del Sordo and the work that's done so that there are clear transition plans. Kids get a better and better sense of what high school life is like coming from elementary school. Superintendent Lofts said at the beginning too, certainly kudos to our staff for providing multiple opportunities for students as early as grade 5 to start experiencing what high school life is like in Halton Catholic. So we are really proud of that. I know it's been a sustained and ongoing long-term work to get that retention rate up.
Just to say that it was very impressive. It was, a lot of percent more. And I know over the years I've heard that integrating the elementary with the high school already, some nights that they go visit or do things together. So they're already in the school building itself and experiencing mentorship from the older students. So it's really showing in the numbers. It's very impressive.
Thank you, Trustee Carabell. Thank you. I see no other hands up, so thank you, Superintendent Lofts, Secretary Merrick, for presenting this report. We shall move on to item 11.4, 2025-26, Achievement Action Plan June update. Superintendent Skripek, please present your report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. With me today is Melissa Georgina. She'll be coming in a little bit. She's the vice principal at St. Thomas Aquinas, and she's pivotal in part of the presentation. That's why she's beside me right now. I have the pleasure of updating the board one more time on Math Achievement Action 2026. Speaking about the highlights of what we've been able to achieve this year so far. While we await students to complete their EQAO assessments, which actually in elementary has already occurred and will be occurring right now in grade 9 with our students being into exam time. We tend to focus on the achieving pillar, so you'll notice in the presentation we'll have a number of references to the achieving area of the work we do. We are mandated to take a look at the provincial goals. There's 3 main ones. One is the fidelity curriculum implementation. The other is strengthening mathematics content knowledge for teaching. And the last one is to understand our students better. Resources is the first place I'd like to start. We do have 2 resources that we procure, Math Up and Mathology. We have created a scope and sequence for staff to follow. 99% have stated they are following the HCDSP math scope and sequence. There's some minor variants. And the exception to the scope and sequence is the pilot of My Math Path, which comes to the next point. My Math Path is a print resource that we're currently piloting in 3 schools. All staff have agreed to the pilot. There's a summary of the findings that we've had thus far. We will continue with the pilot, and it is pending any type of funding or available sources of revenue that we might be able to have from the government at this time. In terms of another resource we do have, in the past, Digital Tools Fund up until this year, it's part of the REP grant, as Manager Cross has referred. This funding is now being placed into the core funding model that we have. So we'll continue to be having access to a Digital Tools Resource Fund. However, it's now going to be part of the core funding that we receive. It is instrumental in the short learning cycles, which I'll be describing in a little bit here. The most recent data indicates that 801 of our educators are accessing the now premium version of Knowledge Hub. The ministry is asking us for data on grades 3, 6, 7, 8, and 9 for 100% usage, and I do believe we're there. That's approximately 19,000 of the students using Knowledge Hub for grades 1 to 10. We do have a fun little thing, which I did challenge trustees on. I didn't see them get a medal this year yet, but students apparently have been using this quite judiciously and very excited. The other thing students receive if they do complete a lot of work on it is a pennant that this whole class signs. So if you walk into a classroom in HCDSP and see this pennant, please congratulate the class on the work they did because it's a notable accomplishment. It has encouraged, and we have noticed an uptake in students being excited to actually complete some math practice at home or at school, depending on where they have the availability. So you'll notice that 1,985 of these medals have been received. That means that they completed half of the practice questions given by Knowledge Hub. There's 657 classes are independent this year. So we're quite happy with the findings there. We also have math contests, which I'll be introducing very shortly in a more succinct way. 850 of our secondary students participated in the University of Waterloo Math Contest this year. And those are the list is here about the different types of contests. We've also been very much promoting and supporting the writing of these contests in our grade 7 and 8 class. 401 elementary students participated in the Gauss contest for grade 7 and 8, and that includes some grade 5 and 6 students who feel a deep desire to reach ahead. And we're excited for that. I want to recognize last year we also participated in the Sigma competition. This year we did as well. We sent some students over from Notre Dame in Burlington. Excited to announce that Deegan was awarded a first overall placement in grade 10 applied. And then his partner over there, Deegan and Anthony, were awarded second place for the grade 10 team contest. This is really exciting in that mathematics is not just limited to students who are thinking of going to university. As we know, it's a critical component of the work that we do, including in skilled trades. And this really honors the work that students are doing. Happy to report that we have around 70% of our students taking a grade 12 math credit, which is a significant accomplishment for any board. But I'm going to now cede the floor over to Melissa, Vice Principal Giardina, who's going to discuss what this picture is all about and the tremendous work that took place.
Thank you. The math contests that students have been participating in have been on their own. And the University of Waterloo has a contest that they've created to allow students to work in teams of 6. They run this contest at the university, but selection process is quite tight. So they do make the resources available for schools to use. And in some conversations that we were having, we thought this would be a great thing to do board-wide. So all 10 of our high schools sent 6 students to participate at Thomas Merton for a day, where they participated in the individual event, which is like their other math contests. There was a team portion where the 6 students worked together to solve 25 problems. We had some lunch. And then is when the chaos started, where we ran a relay for our students. So our 6 teams of 6 split into groups of 3, and each team member was given a question. Only one of those students had a question that was complete, where they could actually find a numerical answer. They would answer it past the next person, who would answer it past the third, and that their final score was then added together to come up with a team winner here of Holy Trinity, to also match our dare to make our day that much more exciting. We did have a representative from the University of Waterloo come in to present to this group of students who already love math, to show them kind of a fun way to take some mathematical calculations and make it like a fun practical thing where they worked together to tie up a student who was not injured, but tie up a student by a series of rotations and crosses. Ty then stayed around after to present each of our winners with a medal and trophy to take back to Holy Trinity. So I know everyone was really excited, and we're looking forward to seeing if Holy Trinity can defend their title next year.
So debt of gratitude to Vice Principal Giardina, who's being humble, I think, here, but instrumental in the organization of this. I would call this the first inaugural HED-SB math competition, fostering future success. As you kind of see, you might notice an award winner here who we celebrated and feted last year for at an individual level. That person continues to achieve well in mathematics and perform well in competitions. And helped vault his team to first position. Grateful to the team, to the department heads, to everybody who put it together. If you'd ever seen it, you would have been surprised to see the excitement, enthusiasm in the air, and just how recognized the students felt for their accomplishments. So we're looking forward to fostering the growth and development of this, and making sure this trophy gets shared among different schools across the board in the future. So that kind of goes into our next phase here, the work that we've been doing in the board, making sure that students, where there's gaps, that we're shoring up those gaps. And that's the short learning cycle. A couple of words that we use here: common assessment form, growth assessment form. This is using Knowledge Hub. We have the ability to actually zero in specifically on areas of need for our students. In this case, we had 37 schools reply in the growth assessment form. We do have 48. Mr. Chair, you recognized a little while ago with the data being released a little late. It's a little difficult for our schools to get all this work completed in a time frame. So we're still waiting for a few more data points here. But the vast majority of our students, our schools focused on the area of spatial sense. There's 5 strands within mathematics that we need to focus on. But what we see from our EQAO data is data and spatial sense are the 2 areas that we notice we needed some more significant work. Some schools this year have moved over into number, and for reasons that when you take a look at the EQAO data, it makes sense that you would want to stay there. We do have some schools also doing algebra, which covers coding And sometimes you think of algebra as just doing 2x plus y, but it's much more than that. So when we talk about our results, we have seen tremendous growth in our students. And I do want to point out that on test 2, we don't include students who've already participated, who are already in the green in the first section. So from test 1, we went from 30% of the students being in green and about 28% of our students being in yellow to 45.9 and 30.5 students being in the green and yellow. And we're looking forward to seeing that data come forth to us with results in the coming year. We do also offer tutoring supports as part of our core education funding that is included, and we are asked to focus on specific groups who may have been disadvantaged in the past. For that reason, we participate with Halton Black Voices in an initiative providing tutoring supports. 105 students, 45 students, I apologize, received the support this year. There's about 12 sessions that occur. Teachers and department heads identify students at a very early stage in their learning cycle in about right after progress reports. And we look forward to continuing this support. This year it was for grade 9 and 10 students specifically, with some exceptions. We also expanded the work that we've done in the past and rejoined a partnership with the Center for Diverse Learners. So 32 students across our elementary schools who are identified with a learning disability received after-hours support from April to June through small group virtual sessions. We're looking forward to getting the report that I can share with you in the October update. We also provide in-house supports who do the math. We have a dedicated itinerant who supports the spread of this, and specifically special education. The vast majority of teachers doing this intervention work come from special education. They're providing for training and support. Do the Math is a resource provided by Marilyn Burns. We continue to see growth and development in our students in this area. And as you can see, the reports continue to show that the, students have strong feelings about how much better they feel as mathematicians in their classroom as a result of the intervention work. And we have received a few more updates, which I'll be updating the board on in future reports. We also have a priority school model. So 4 elementary schools in our board are identified as priority schools. I will note that the province provides money for this, but they only provide us funding for one specific school. The rest of the schools are supported through HCDSB funds. And so this is the learning cycle that takes place throughout the year for the priority schools in elementary. Now that they represent about 8% of our grade 3 and 6 students who are writing EQAO this year. They do a number of different interventions within the school, including supporting the teacher. They're there pretty much every day, working side by side with classroom teachers, making sure that they're supported in their learning, do any intervention work that might be needed, providing the high impact instructional practices that can be implemented in the classroom. And finally, they also do provide support for EQAO, which has just taken place. You can kind of see the results here through the priority school assessments. The same cycles take place in our priority schools, although we do many more of them as a result of the additional support. And we saw a significant decline in students who are being recognized as needing support in our priority schools, which is a very positive outcome for us. We also have 4 secondary schools. So first semester, we have 2 secondary itinerants that provide support. In our first semester, 2 schools are selected. In our second semester, 2 different schools are then selected. And this is the cycle that they follow. They're currently very busy implementing EQAO in the next week or so, having working with classroom teachers and supporting the implementation. I will also note, interestingly enough, with our mental health team that presented earlier today, there is a focus in one of our schools that we're doing in working through mental health supports within the math classroom. And that includes calming, awareness, and test anxiety strategies, which has come back with some tremendously positive results from what we can see with our students. And last but not a couple of last points, we also received funding from the ministry to provide additional qualifications in mathematics. In the past, this board has leveraged that to provide funds to teachers to take a course outside. This year, we have had an in-house course provided to teachers in partnership with Trent University. 16 educators in junior, primary and junior, and 9 educators in intermediate. We also are offering the summer learning opportunity, and so far we have 8 teachers taking us up on that opportunity. And last but not least, a rather exciting moment happened for those of you in the math world, including myself. We provided an opportunity after hours for teachers to participate in learning regarding Alex Lawson. She produced a book called What to Look For, Volume 1, which is addition and subtraction and future multiplication. But she produced a brand new book called Multiplicative Reasoning. So we participated in 3 sessions. And we were very happy that Alex Lawson herself was able to come and join us. For those of you who don't know Alex Lawson, she is a preeminent author of mathematics within Ontario. Her work is very well known and recognized, has been used by the ministry numerous times. This new work is quite groundbreaking, to be honest with you, in the world that I live in. It's quite interesting how she's developed an understanding of how students learn multiplication. So to have her here and talk to our teachers in a 1.5-hour session was quite humbling, to be honest with you. I do happen to have an autograph, so I'm confident. But happy to take any questions from.
Thank you, Superintendent Skripek, for presenting the update. Trustees are now on the floor. If you have any questions or comments, Trustee Murphy, you have the floor.
Thank you. And through you, Mr. Chair, I don't want to use the term math nerd because that's a derogatory term, but I'm happy to see you're so excited about the program. Great program. You know, I think math skills obviously are critical, and in the world I live in, it's construction. We use math every day. One of the issues that I found with my own children is when they make a mistake, they didn't understand the question. So it's the connection between literacy competency and math competency. So how is that picked up? Is that during the intervention stage?
Superintendent Skripek.
So interesting enough, we are working on developing some more strategies for staff with regard to problem solving, because at the root of that is understanding how to solve a problem. Developing strategies within staff to understand, okay, here's how a student is presenting themselves when they answer the problem. Here's some scaffolding and structures that we might be able to use, and other strategies. I could probably spend about an hour talking about it. Oh, but I will say this. Honestly, we do have a number of projects in the mix right now to support future problem solving strategies specific to language and understanding when you see a problem, how do you do it? I will say just a fun fact. When you take a look at a word problem, it's totally the opposite of how you actually write literacy things. The question is always at the end. That means the topic is at the end. So asking a student to highlight all the important parts, they actually have to read the very end of the question before they actually understand what it's asking.
Right. Typically, they start formulating the math when they start reading. A follow-up question. So if you listen to the noise, popular noise that our math skills are declining yet, but if you look at all of the technology and development of the world, it's all based on math. So, and then based on 75% of students participating, you know, my view on EQA is maybe jaded. I don't necessarily see the value of that. But overall, anecdotally, how do you feel we've progressed over the last few years in our math skills?
Superintendent Skripek.
To you, Mr. Chair. I have a higher confidence level relative to the Ontario curriculum than I could comment on specific skills. If you're asking how students are doing with multiplication, I'd have to dig deeper into that to give you the answer. But relative to the Ontario curriculum, we are doing better. Okay. And the significant component of the work we're trying to do is really highlighting for teachers what the curriculum's asking of our students, taking a look at the examples that the ministry's provided, and understanding that, you know, all elements of it are important. And I think we're also seeing that's kind of the work that you're seeing with the short learning cycles, is highlighting important components of it, where a data question may sometimes be kind of like, well, let's just draw a bar graph, but we're asking for, ministry's asking for very deep level understanding of what a graph might present for a student. And we know that that's critical right now, given all the information that's out there for people to discern.
Great. Thank you. Great program.
Thanks, Trustee Murphy. Up next is Vice Chair Vanchana.
Thank you, through you, Mr. Chair, to Superintendent Skripek. Again, your passion just warms my heart. Every time you talk about math, it just makes me excited about math. My question is this, adding competition, and that's amazing, right, to the math programs, because we have football tournaments, hockey tournaments, dance competitions, you know, now, do you find that that's getting more of our children into math, or is that just enhancing their math experience?
The reason why I think the recognition of that is important is because those are typically students who would have kind of been seen in the background. And what we're trying to do really is, in all honesty, is recognize the accomplishments of students who may not see themselves in a sporting activity or, you know, in student council, but who are showing such amazing academic prowess. And, you know, the reality is these are the same kids who then turn around and create companies like, I think of Xanadu in Toronto right now. They talk about it in the business world a lot about quantum computing. This is the guy who got into mathematics first, had a passion for math, and then realized he likes math so much, why didn't apply it to physics, created a quantum computer that works on light instead of deep freezing. Sorry to sound very technical there, but it's that type of work that we're trying to encourage students to think of. But I'm going to go back to that the Sigma competition is one that I really think is significant too, in that, as Trustee Murphy has already pointed out, the work that we do in skilled trades without having mathematics. I believe I was just talking to somebody who said, you know, I have an electrician friend and they asked me, like, what do I need to do? And they said, make sure you stay in math, whatever you do, like you need to take your math. So what we're trying to not only do is to destigmatize math as some small elite club that only certain people can do, and kind of open up the world to see the potential that's there.
Yeah,
So
well done.
we are seeing it.
Yeah, and even just making change at a Metro grocery store, right?
Oh.
To be able to do that, you give them 220 and their minds are blown. Do you ever see a world, and this may be a philosophical question, through my kids when they're growing up, they could do the math equation, but show what you know was extremely difficult for one of my two. Do you ever see a world where they're going to remove that in our curriculum, show what you know in math and just get to the answer?
You know, you'll never get an argument out of me about the necessity of mental math. But what's critical about mental math is to understand the math behind it and the reasoning and the thinking that goes with it, because it isn't an automatic thing. Memorization, while an effective tool at some point, doesn't help a child figure out something like 99 times 15. And yet there's great strategies out there that when you do 9 times 15, you could figure out, you could do the exact same work with 99 times 15 and still calculate it. And that's what we're trying to do. It's not just take it for, you know, your single digits, but we're trying to expand it beyond. And what we also know, as you kind of saw through Alex Lawson's work, when students understand it in a way, they're also able to apply it in a much deeper fashion. So the critical component of it is understanding how it works, so that they can apply it over time. And it's not just limited to only one moment type of thing.
And you can tell in the pictures of the kids, those are not fake smiles. They're extremely happy to have those awards hanging around their neck. You can feel it coming off the page at you. So good, awesome, thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Any other trustees' questions? If not, Superintendent Skripek and we can get, you know. We want to thank you. It's past 10 now, but I can still feel the enthusiasm for math. So keep up the good work. Thank you for presenting the data.
Thank you very much.
We shall now move on to item number 12, miscellaneous information, 12.1 student trustee update. Student trustees, please present your report.
Okay, so it's good to be presenting the report since both the trustees left, but I'll keep it short and I'll keep it sweet. So starting with achieving, as the school year draws to a close, students across the board are engaged in their culminating and exam period, demonstrating their learning and achievement through the academic year. Additionally, student leadership continues to be recognized at the provincial level with our incoming student trustees, as you've all met before, Gabby, Pierre. Oh, we forgot to add, oh my goodness, we forgot to add the third one, Gabby, Pierre, and Hannah. Oh my goodness, having recently been elected to leadership positions within the Ontario Student Trustee Association leadership team. Their appointments to these positions highlight the strengths of student voices within the student board and will provide our new trustees with valuable opportunities to contribute to provincial discussions on education. So now I see why I only included the two of them. So Gabby got elected to my position of curriculum and school community, and then Pierre is VP Catholic for Ostaiga now. So, and now for the believing section, faith and reflection continue to guide student leadership throughout the month. During the General Senate meetings, student trustees were grateful to hear from Ms. Savali's thoughtful message, accompanied by the land acknowledgement, which encouraged meaningful reflection on our shared responsibilities, respect to histories, cultures, and contributions of Indigenous peoples. Her helpful remarks invited students to approach with reconciliation with humility, compassion, and commitment, living out Catholic values of justice, dignity, and stewardship. School communities continue to foster a sense of belonging through participation in charitable and community building initiatives. Several secondary schools participated in Real Life for Life events, bringing students, staff, community members together in support of cancer and research. Many schools saw exceptional engagement with some, including Holy Trinity, Assumptions, raising towards $100,000 for cancer research, demonstrating the compassion, generosity, and collective spirit present through the board. And lastly, becoming. So student leadership development remained a focus this month, as both outgoing and incoming student trustees attended the Ontario Student Trustee Association annual general meeting. The conference provided opportunities to develop leadership skills, engage with student representatives and student trustee alumni across the province, and gain insights on key topics affecting students, including post-secondary pathways and consent education. A really big highlight for, like, at least me specifically, is Halton Catholic District School Board showed up especially at this because me and Felini got nominated best co-trustees. Ontario, I just want to put that out there. So, and the knowledge and student trustees and informed teacher student advocacy events within the board. So that's all for the student trustee report. And if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer any of them.
Thank you, trustees. Any questions for student trustees? If not, I want to say a big thank you to our student trustees. We have two student trustees who are not here, but we are three. So thank you for the final update. On behalf of the board of trustees, I want to thank you for your dedication, leadership, and your commitment to representing the voice of students all across our system. So throughout your term, you have brought thoughtful perspective and faithful. You have brought thoughtful perspectives and faithful contributions. Even trustees require courage. I know you have that responsibility and a willingness to lead, and you all have exemplified these qualities with professionalism, integrity, and grace. You have left a lasting impact on our board and on the students you have all have represented. As tonight marks your final board meeting in this role, we want to express our sincere appreciation for all that you have accomplished. While your term as student trustee is coming to an end, we know that your leadership journey is only beginning. We are confident that you will continue to make a positive difference in your schools, communities, and all your future endeavors. Thank you for your service, your faithful leadership, and your dedication to the students of the Halton Catholic District School Board. We wish you every success, God's blessing, all in the years ahead. Please join me in thanking our students for the. Thank you. We shall now move on to item 12.2, OCSTA update. Vice Chair Ohan Chanara, do you have an update?
I do. I have about a 50-page report, so sit back. No, I do not. So OXA is living in a world that in their 96 years, they've never lived before. So OXA is very busy trying to go through the resolutions that the Ministry of Education is providing with them. So there's not much on the OXA side. On the CCSTA, none of us went to Winnipeg this year, but Vice President Wigston has provided a report that will attach to the minutes of the meeting. So you can feel like we were there. There was a lot of good presentations in Winnipeg, so that'll be attached to this meeting. So please feel free to read through that. At this point, unless there's questions or concerns, that's it.
Thank you. Proceed. Any questions for Vice Chair? Seeing none, thank you for presenting your verbal update. Item number 13, correspondence. We have no correspondence. Open question period. CEO Klein, do we have any questions submitted for today's meeting?
Chair, we do not.
Thank you. Item 15, in camera, we do not have to go in camera. And next order of business is resolution regarding absentees. We have Trustee Agnew, who is absent and sent a note. So may I have a motion to excuse Trustee Agnew? Court approval. Trustee Martin. The second.
I'll second it.
Second by Trustee Vice Chair Chanara. All in favor? Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Trustee Agnew is excused. We now move on to item number 17, adjournment and closing prayer. May I have a motion to adjourn, please? Looking for Trustee Carapella. Looking for a seconder.
Powell.
Trustee Powell seconds, all in favor? Anybody opposed? Seeing none, motion carries. Trustee Kendall, please lead us in the closing prayer.
Thank you. Through you, Mr. Chair. As we conclude this year's final board meeting, we thank God for the many blessings he has bestowed upon our Catholic schools, our students, our families, educators, staff, and trustees. We give thanks for the gifts of learning, faith, service, and community that have enriched our schools and the HCDSB community throughout the year. We give thanks for the life of dedicated service and example of Nancy to our board. We extend our condolences to her family and colleagues and all the many people she has impacted. As we prepare for the summer months, and now being in June, we unite ourselves to the Sacred Heart of Jesus and the Immaculate Heart of Mary as we entrust to their loving care the whole HCDSB community and all those in need of God's mercy and protection. Please join me in the sign of the cross. Name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. Amen. Sacred Heart of Jesus, we thank you for guiding us throughout this school year. Bless all who have worked to form young minds and hearts in faith, wisdom, and virtue. Make our hearts like unto thine. Immaculate Heart of Mary, Mother of the Church and Mother of all people, lead us always closer to your Son. Lord, at this time, we also pray for a renewed respect and emphasis for the dignity and sanctity of every human life, to recognize the infinite worth of every child in the womb, every person living with special needs, every elderly person, every individual who is sick, suffering, or vulnerable. We remember in a special way the unborn whose lives have been lost through abortion, and those whose lives have ended through euthanasia and assisted suicide, also known as MAID. Saint Joseph, patron saint of Canada, please continue to pray for us. As you know, this year alone in Canada, 100,000 babies have been aborted, of which we have lost approximately 1,500 babies here in Halton region alone. Tomorrow, June 17th, marks the 10-year anniversary, very sad anniversary of euthanasia and assisted suicide being legalized in Canada, with 100,000 souls that have died since through MAID. May the Sacred Heart of Jesus' mercy embrace them, comfort all who mourn them, and may the Immaculate Heart of Mary inspire us to build a culture of life, love, and accompaniment. We entrust our communities to your hearts and our future to your loving care. Keep us safe and enriched in family moments throughout the summer, and bring us back together in September with renewed dedication and purpose. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. Sacred Heart of Jesus, have mercy on the Immaculate Heart of Mary.
Thank you, Trustee Garavalo. Thanks for a great meeting.
Thank you, Chair.
Thanks.